The Fanatic.
Well, good Wednesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salchunas. It's the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Yeah, it's one of these days where I'm in a good mood, right? We're laughing, we're joking, having a good time before the show. I was just joking around with Bob and Pat right before the intro started. It's one of these days where I'm in a good mood. Woke up, Cooper slept through the entire night, right? Made it from about 8 o'clock till 5 a.m. It was beautiful. Everything's great. And then I remembered that there's people that get paid a lot of money to say absolutely bull spit every single day. And then I start getting angry. Is it jealousy? Nah, I didn't play in the NFL. So, I don't expect to be hired by the NFL Network to spew nonsense. But my God. So yesterday, we did the show. And we reacted to what I thought may have been one of the more ridiculous things ever that I had to react to, and that was Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith on First Take Monday morning did the whole, somebody's got to say it. Somebody's got to say it. No, you don't have to say it. But he said it. He said that the way the Eagles lost on Sunday to the 49ers, 42-19, delegitimized the Eagles as not just a 10-1, now 10-2 football team, but delegitimized them as NFC champions from back in January. This one game on Sunday, we ignore all the circumstances. We ignore the fact that it was the third game in 13 days. We ignore the fact that on Sunday, after playing on short rest, they had to play 92 defensive snaps because it went into overtime, right? We ignore all that stuff. We ignore the fact that during the NFC Championship game, Kyle Shanahan had a backup tight end go one-on-one against Hassan Reddick, and Reddick beat his man and got to Brock Purdy, which led to an injury. We also ignore the fact that the Eagles were such a good football team last year that they earned the 1 seed in the NFC. They earned the first-round bye. They earned the ability to play the lowest seed in the second round of the playoffs, which was the New York Giants. They beat their asses, and so they earned that spot in the NFC Championship game more rested than the San Francisco 49ers. That is football. That is sports. So yesterday, I thought that was probably the most ridiculous thing that we had to react to in this calendar year, in terms of what somebody in the national media was saying about the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, David Carr yesterday said, hold my beer. So David Carr, not Derek Carr, the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, who should be benched, by the way, but they paid him a lot of money, so he's going to keep on playing because that's another thing that GMs do in sports. David Carr, former first overall pick, former Houston Texans quarterback before he was replaced by that Matt Schaub, local guy. David Carr works for the NFL Network. He's on a show called NFL Total Access. And so David Carr, I'm going to say contributor. I'm not even going to say analyst because that's actually like saying that he's actually good at what he does. No, he's a contributor. He's one of these guys that clearly is a handsome fella who played in the NFL, so let's give him a job on TV. Right? That's what it is. Because what he said yesterday was borderline Orlando Scandrick. Remember Orlando Scandrick spilled all the tea, at least his side of the tea, with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp years ago. They brought him on a couple more times, and then you never heard from him again because they realized he wasn't good because what he was saying was idiotic. Well, yesterday, David Carr said something that was completely idiotic. They were talking about the Eagles and what they need to do to improve. Because obviously there's been a lot of questions surrounding the Eagles. Questions about the secondary. Questions about the middle of the field. Questions about Jalen Hurts this season. Questions about whether or not the 10-1, now 10-2 record is legitimate in terms of being a top team in the NFL, or are they more so like the Minnesota Vikings last year, right? These are what all the talk shows are talking about nationally and some of us here locally. Or maybe some fans believe that here locally. Well, David Carr wasn't talking about that stuff. He wasn't talking about the secondary needing to play better. He wasn't talking about shoring up the middle of the field. He wasn't talking about the addition of Shaq Leonard and how that may help the Eagles, or if maybe he's past his prime and maybe it won't help all that much. But maybe the slight Band-Aid does make a little bit of a difference. He didn't even talk about the fact that Jalen Hurts needs to play better, because let's face it, he does. Jalen Hurts did not have a good game against San Francisco. He did not have a good game. He did not play like an MVP against San Francisco. But he did not play poorly enough and has not played poorly enough for him to be benched, which is what David Carr had to say. Take a listen.
Clearly, Jalen isn't comfortable reading through a defense in a drop-back pass scenario. Some would say he's not even good at it. And I think that when you look at this team, you have to have a serious conversation if you're Philly. And you have to really say, is it better for us to play Marcus Mariota right now and let Jalen get fully healthy? Ooh. Like, if you're Nick Sirianni, this is the type of decision and conversation you have to have if you have a big-picture mentality. That's all Jalen talks about, is the end result and getting to the Super Bowl and winning that thing. Put Marcus in there, win a couple games. I'd say he's probably better at playing quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, he would be more productive.
Hey, that is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Marcus Mariota, who, by the way, during preseason, we wanted not even on the team anymore. We wanted Tanner McKee to win the backup quarterback spot. Marcus Mariota, who's been trash in his entire NFL career. Right? Like, it didn't work in Tennessee. It worked for a blip as a backup for the Raiders. It didn't work last year with the Atlanta Falcons. And by the way, he walked away from the team because he got hurt. He just left. So David Carr believes that Jalen Hurts should get benched because he may not necessarily be 100% healthy, right? Because he continued in that clip. He said, one of the things they like to do is when he drops back and he doesn't see on his first read, he likes to run. And he's not running as well this year. Blah, 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 blah. Dude, Jalen Hurts is 50 times the quarterback that Marcus Mariota is, and he's a billion times the quarterback that David Carr ever was. And for him to sit there and get paid to talk sports for a living, like if I said that here in Philadelphia, I would hope you would hold this station accountable and would come to the doors and demand me to get off the radio. If I said you should bench Jalen Hurts and play Marcus Mariota. There's probably one reporter in this town that would say something asinine like that. And we all know who that is, right? Like, saying something like that is beyond hot take. Like, saying something like that is just, I keep on using the word disrespect because Stephen A. Smith was disrespectful on Monday to every member of the Philadelphia Eagles on the 2022-23 Eagles who went to the Super Bowl and played their asses off to win 14 games in the regular season and to get to the NFC Championship game and completely beat up the San Francisco 49ers, quite literally. Beat up the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson, and then move on to the Super Bowl. Like, Stephen A. Smith was disrespectful to that. David Carr is being disrespectful to you. David Carr is being disrespectful to anybody who has watched a second of football. Because this guy is getting paid to go out there and say, he's not reading the defense well. Some may say he's not good at it at all. And who's the some? You? Like, are you saying, is that what you truly believe? To the point where the people that he's working with are laughing at him. They're laughing at him for saying that. So here's the deal. Today's one of these days. It's the midway point of the week. The first 2 days of this week, Monday, Tuesday, were tough, man. We were reacting to an awful loss to the San Francisco 49ers. A loss that, opened your eyes to maybe some of the flaws of the Eagles, but also a loss that just kind of broke you down because you wanted to beat the San Francisco 49ers because of all the trash they had, spewed since losing the NFC Championship game. Today's one of these days where we just fight. Today's one of these days where we just have some fun. Today's one of these days where we make fun of somebody who believes that Jalen Hurts should be benched for Marcus Mariota. Now, what I want to do on the other, next to making fun of David Carr, basically that's what I'm going to do for about 4 hours, make fun of David Carr today. I also want to talk about who we actually do trust in the media. So coming up on the other side, I'll open the phone lines at 610-632-0975. Your reaction to what David Carr had to say, because there were some people, knuckleheads, some people on social media that agreed with him, which I just, whatever. Like, if you think Marcus Mariota is going to save the season, you're foolish. By the way, Jalen Hurts was the runner-up for MVP last year and is in the running for MVP again this year. Like, why are we going to bench the MVP? After 12 games in which the team is 10-2. We're not talking about a 6-6 team here. We're not talking about Josh Allen. Has he said this stuff about Josh Allen, who had a turnover streak of 8 straight weeks? Like, is that being discussed or no? It's just Jalen Hurts can't read a defense because he had one pretty bad game. He has not been the Jalen Hurts of last year. If you remember, before the season started, I had a topic where I believe Jalen Hurts would take a slight step back from last year. From the second best player in the NFL to a top 6-7 quarterback. And I got, crushed for it because I used the word regress because that actually is technically correct. But, you hear the word regress and you freak out. Jalen Hurts is still playing like one of the top players in the NFL this year. But David Carr thinks that Jalen Hurts should be benched. So what I want to do on the other side with you on the phones is, A, make fun of David Carr, but also I want to talk about who in the media you trust. Because there are national media members who get paid to analyze the respective sport that they cover, and I believe they do a good job at it. And maybe those are the ones that we should just only listen to. I want to compile a list of the people that we trust that analyze football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, whether it's analyzed in terms of they used to play and that's what they do for a living, or it's reporting. And there's a lot of great reporters here in the Philadelphia area. There's a lot of great reporters nationally. So let's talk about that coming up next. And also, speaking of David Carr, he didn't just say what he said on television. He backed down on social media. He doubled down. He tripled down. I think we have a new enemy because you should have heard some of the stuff that he said about Eagles fans. I'll get your reaction right next. Your calls as well at 610-632-0975 on what should be a more lighthearted day, but a day in which we attack somebody because this person needs it. I'm Andrew Salchunas, the Midday Show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Shifting focus to Dallas week. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Boost Infinite. Boost Infinite's new wireless technology gives you 3 networks for the price of 1 and better service at a lower price. Visit boostinfinite.com. That's boostinfinite.com. Anticipation continues to build for Sunday. Eagles-Cowboys on Sunday Night Football this week. Eagles looking to win in Dallas for the first time since 2017 and looking for their first sweep of Dallas in quite a while. The Cowboys currently 3.5-point favorites and have won 14 in a row at home. The Eagles have a 1-game advantage in the NFC standings over the Cowboys. 76ers back in action tonight as they travel to play the Washington Wizards. Wizards 3-16 on the season, and the Sixers right now trying to bounce back from back-to-back losses. You catch the live call tonight right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Reports are that former Philly Craig Kimbrell is close to signing a deal with the Baltimore Orioles to be one of their bullpen pieces. Matt Breen will join the show at 1 o'clock to talk all things Philadelphia sports. In college hoops tonight before LaSalle plays Loyola Maryland, the university is honoring Fran Dunphy for his 600th win. The game tips at 6:30 p.m. and only 42 coaches in the history of the game have achieved this milestone. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm Ray Down the home for the Sixers, Flyers, and Union. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Join the Fanatic tomorrow from 5:30 to 7:30 at Buy Right Wine and Liquor in Hamilton for your chance to win tickets to 97.5 The Fanatic's Feast of the Seven Fishes with Ricky Patalico, presented by Baroni Fini Wine on December 20th at Il Villaggio Italian Restaurant in Cherry Hill. Visit the events page on 97.5thefanatic.com for details.
Hey, it's John Kincaid. You know, each year there are hundreds of children in Chester and the surrounding areas in Delaware County that will not receive toys for Christmas. And my friend David Kelleher of David Dodge Chrysler Jeep is teaming up with City Team Ministries to help out. You have so many athletes on your roster that they always are super generous.
And uniformly, this year we have 11 professional athletes that have partnered with us. Every one of them make a donation. Last year, our friend Fletcher Cox, number 91, you see him out there destroying people? He gave $20,000. That's adopting almost 300 kids by himself. That's how great this program is, and this is how much it touches people's hearts.
Well, that's why Fletcher does business with David Auto. Dave personally committed to adopting 600 children, but will need your help to make sure every child has a good Christmas this year. Thank you for considering helping us. Go to drivedavid.com to donate and do it today.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Go to nomoredraftywindows.com for full offer details.
Attention all homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? It's time to replace. Fog between the glass. Time to replace. Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's definitely time to replace. If you've put off replacing windows in your home because it's too expensive, here's great news. You can now get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen, the company with the most 5-star reviews among leading full-service window replacement companies. And right now you can save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. Just text HOME to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for no dollars down, no payments, and no interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Plus save $359 off every window and $887 off every door. But hurry, these big dollar savings end this month. Text HOME to 200-300 right now. Text the word HOME to 200-300. Don't wait, text HOME to 200-300.
The holidays are here, and if you're making a list and checking it twice, let the Preferred Pros make that list shorter by checking off your home improvement projects. Whether you need experts to help keep your home cozy warm, remove the junk and clutter, or help to keep your holiday gifts safe, we have just the pros for you.
Volpe Enterprises. It's time to make your windows remarkable and affordable. Call Volpe Enterprises. 1-855-GO-VOLPE.
An organized home is a happy home. Enjoy unmatched quality and a lifetime warranty on closets, pantries, offices, and more from the Closet Works, Inc. ClosetWorksINC.com.
Rockland Construction, masonry, hardscaping, stamped concrete, outdoor kitchens, and more. Rockland does it all, especially in the fall. Call for a free estimate. Call 610-357-6741.
Check out Preferred Pros today. This paid program is sponsored by businesses highly rated by actual customers. For more details on Preferred Pros, visit 975thefanatic.com.
Hey, it's Jen Scordo. As the weather starts to get colder, of course, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, obviously there's no better time to get in on all the action. The app is so easy to use. I can do it. That means you can too. There's a wide range of betting options too, like overs and unders, player props, and spreads. Make sure you take advantage of this money line special if you're a new customer. Pick a solid favorite, bet the money line, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets. It's so easy. So go visit FanDuel.com/Scordo, my last name. That's FanDuel.com/Scordo, and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL.
21 plus and present in PA. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
O'Reilly. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Holiday Gift Guide is here. If you're struggling with gift ideas, we have several options for gifts under $20, like a digital tire gauge, screwdriver sets, LED work lights, and more. Our professional parts people will help you pick out the perfect gift for that hard-to-buy-for person. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts or shop O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Nothing slows my little girl down, except a stuffy nose.
Mommy.
That's why I use Sinex Children's Saline from Vicks. Sinex instantly clears mucus in everyday stuffy little noses with a gentle, ultra-fine mist designed for kids. Just Sinex? Breathe. Her stuffy nose is gone for now. And so is she.
Sinex Children's Saline. Sinex, breathe. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hi. What brings you to the clinic today?
Oh, the baby's not feeling well. I think she might have a fever.
Well, let's check her temp with the Extragen thermometer. You're right. These Extragen thermometers are very accurate. Reads 101.2.
Oh, gosh. Well, that Extragen thermometer sure is fast and easy to use.
Yes, and many doctors recommend Extragen for home use.
Extragen thermometers, backed by over 100 clinical studies, are available at Walgreens and participating retailers. Learn more at Extragen.com.
Save up to $100 on select sets of 4 Vredestein tires now through December 16th only at AAA Car Care Centers. Not a member? Not a problem. Everyone can save at AAA Car Care Centers. Details at AAA.com/mycar.
Celebrate the holidays with the gift of giving. Snag a $5 gift card and get a bonus $5 for you. Now for a limited time at ManhattanBagel.com. Participating locations only. The gift that's always in good taste at ManhattanBagel.com.
Hey, Bucks County, join Corona, Andrew Salchunas, Pat Egan, and Bob Cooney for the Fanatic pregame show this Sunday, December 10th from 5 to 8 p.m. at Marie's Cozy Corner in Fairless Hills. Enjoy $4.75 Coronas and $20 Corona buckets. Hang with Chunas, Pat, and Bob and listen to them break down the upcoming Birds game versus Dallas. Don't miss the Fanatic pregame show sponsored by Corona at Marie's Cozy Corner in Fairless Hills this Sunday. Visit 975thefanatic.com for details. Go Birds.
Drexel Basketball is proud to now be a member of the Philadelphia Big Five, and you're invited to be a part of this historic inaugural season. Join fans from all over Philly as our Drexel Dragons take the court against Division I rivals from across the country right on Market Street in the Daskalaskis Athletic Center. Experience the excitement of Drexel men's and women's basketball in one of the most intimate sporting venues in the city. Don't miss your chance to roar with the Dragons. For tickets, go to drexel.edu/Dragon Tickets.
Jim McManus plays on one station in Philly, 97.5, The Fanatic.
That's somebody I trust, Tim McManus. 10:21. I'm Andrew Salchunas. 10 o'clock hour brought to us by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows. Plus, make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. Something that we're going to get into today is who do we trust in the national media or even local media, whether it's reporter or an analyst, somebody who analyzes games. Now, one of these things that I find really funny about David Carr. So David Carr, if you missed it, if you're just tuning in, you probably saw it on social media because it was literally everywhere yesterday. David Carr spewing nonsense that the Eagles should bench Jalen Hurts and have Marcus Mariota play. Now, in that clip that we played, he talks about specifically Jalen Hurts, some may say, can't read a defense, right? He's talking about not being able to read a defense and, part of the reason why the offense is struggling so much. He then went to social media and complained that the entire clip wasn't posted, and he went on to say that because Jalen Hurts isn't 100% healthy, he can't do all the things he normally does in the offense, and that's why he should be benched. Even though you did lead your point with he can't read a defense. Can you play the beginning of the clip one more time, Ray? I'll tell you when to cut it off, but it's the part where he goes, some might say it might not be good at all.
Clearly, Jalen isn't comfortable reading through a defense in a drop-back pass scenario. Some would say he's not even good at it.
All right. So here's the deal. David Carr say this at all last year? Good morning, Ray.
Good morning.
Did David Carr, do you remember? I know he's been with the NFL Network for a few years now, so it's not like this is his first year. Was David Carr saying it all last year about how Jalen Hurts is not good at all at reading a defense?
I don't recall it.
Because I feel like we would have talked about it. Like, we remember everything that Chris Sims has said, right? Like, we remember everything that has been said about Jalen Hurts in a way where you're like, really? Like, what are you watching? Did David Carr say anything about Jalen Hurts that we may recall through the first 11 games of the season this year?
I don't recall.
No, neither do I. So he waits until this past Sunday, after this past Sunday's blowout loss, which was a bad game. And by the way, Jalen Hurts played poorly in it. Right? Like, we can be real. Jalen Hurts did not have a good game on Sunday. He's one of the reasons why you lost. The defense giving up 6 straight touchdowns is a big part of it. But Jalen Hurts and, not finishing in the red zone twice in the first quarter, only being up 6-0, then going down 7-6, and then, didn't look like he really had a prayer the rest of the game. He is part of the reason why he lost the game, but I don't remember David Carr saying anything about Jalen Hurts through the first 11 games of the year. He waits until this very bad game to now all of a sudden point out that Jalen Hurts can't read a defense. So he took to social media because he was obviously getting nothing but heat for what he had to say. And he put out a few tweets. If Philly wants to win it all, get Jalen healthy. If not, play your injured quarterback and watch the Super Bowl at home. It's really easy. He continues. If Philly wants to win the Super Bowl, which I believe that's their goal, Jalen has to be 100% to utilize his legs and design quarterback runs to dictate coverages that will allow for one-on-ones to his dynamic receivers. If he's not 100%, Philly won't even call those plays, ... Philly isn't going to have the tactical advantage they've enjoyed since Jalen became their quarterback. If ignoring this fact causes Philly to be so stubborn as to not even entertain getting Jalen healthy, then they will get exactly what they deserve. If he sits and gets healthy, ... Philly can win it all. First of all, he doesn't know how to do a thread because because he just randomly has a tweet that says Philly can win it all, but now I'm seeing that it's in response.
So he just fires off tweet, runs out of characters, says, all right, to the next tweet.
He doesn't do the threads. He's anti-thread.
He wasn't able to thread the ball as a quarterback, so that also makes sense.
That's a good point, right? You know what? I think any team would like their quarterback to be healthy. Any team would like their quarterback to be healthy.
Hot take.
You're not going to sit your starting quarterback this late in the season when you're still fighting not only for the 1 seed in the NFC, but you're still fighting to win the division. Dallas is right behind you, don't forget, and you're playing Dallas this weekend. So you're all of a sudden going to sit the guy. Now, he continues at one point. Where are we at here? One of his tweets was about home field advantage not mattering anymore. I can't find it. But he talked about how home field advantage, that's in the past. Look what happened on Sunday. They were the home team, and they got beat up. It's not just home field advantage, bro. It's also it's having the first round bye, which if you just go back in recent years in the Super Bowl, typically the 1 or 2 seed, because the 2 seed back in the day used to have a bye way back in my day. the 1 and 2 seed both had byes. Usually those were the two teams. One of those two teams made it to the Super Bowl in their respective conference. But we're now just going to ignore the fact that the Eagles might lose their first-round bye if you sit Jalen Hurts. He's trying to make a case on social media that Marcus Mariota could run the offense just fine. So what, you saw that in – how many snaps did he take? 5 snaps the other day? You saw that Marcus Mariota can now run this offense just fine? It's ridiculous to me. Your thoughts on what David Carr had to say, Ray?
I really didn't think it could get worse from yesterday, and it did.
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith saying that the NFC Championship was delegitimized because of the loss on Sunday.
Yes.
But no,
somehow
David Carr said, hold my beer.
I saw the clip. I saw people reacting to the clip on social media, and I didn't want to watch it because it was almost like poison for the brain. I just didn't want to actually think that someone out there really uttered those words. But I knew what we were doing today. I knew I had to listen to it, and I still can't believe what he's saying. I'm still in shock that someone's brain processed what's going on in Philadelphia and said, this is the answer. This is the way they should go. I don't know what if he thinks like Oregon, Marcus Mariota is walking through that door. I don't know what he thinks.
Which was, what, 7 or 8 years ago now?
Right. You mentioned getting the number 1 seed and how he says home field advantage doesn't matter. I know that there's a week off there. Isn't that a good chance for someone to get healthy? And,
yes, that's a good point.
If the Eagles were to put their number 1 quarterback there, MVP candidate of a quarterback out on the field and win the next couple of games, is there a chance that at the end of the season he gets some...
He could have 2 weeks off.
Oh, he would have 2 weeks off. So that would actually be great instead of going into a game in your division with your biggest rival, only 1 game up on them in their home field where they have not lost in 14 games, putting Marcus Mariota out there on the field. Would that seem like a logical strategy for any team that's trying to get to a number 1 seed, that's trying to win a Super Bowl? I mean, this is asinine. This is one of the dumbest things that we have ever heard uttered on television.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, and this is not hyperbole. This is quite literally one of the dumbest things that have ever been said by an analyst in any field about anything. The fact that he is on a platform and is able to say this, and you can hear it at the end, that literally, I forget who it is on the panel, turns to the camera and says, hey, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Like, this reminds me of the whole tush push thing earlier this season where
Chris Simpson they should try to kill or murder Jalen Hurts.
It's like, whoa. That's not what you mean, right? Like, literally, there are people already on that panel distancing themselves from what Carr had to say because it's that laughably stupid that anyone would have this thought process.
Yeah, it's been a weird stretch in sports media, right? And it's a shame because then everybody that's in sports media gets wrapped into it. Not that long ago on social media, it was at Monday after the Eagles lost to the 49ers. Haley took a video of me before the show, just kind of get it, what I'm going to get into, and some guy responded with, this guy, typical negative media member. And I'm like, I'm actually normally more positive than most people. But because sports media nowadays there's like a couple of people that they uplift for everything, and then everybody else sucks, right? And then it's all these yelling and screaming matches, which is why I don't watch shows like First Take and the Skip Bayless show. Yeah, do we react to clips sometimes? Of course we do. I think that's also a fun way to generate conversation, which is what we did yesterday with Stephen A. Smith saying that the NFC Championship game was delegitimized because of what happened on Sunday. Like, that's outrageous. I can't believe somebody in their right mind would actually say that. But it's a problem that there's so many people out there that just are paid to spew nonsense. And that's what it is. And it's funny, you bring up the fact that you didn't even really want to watch the video at first. Somebody did tweet at him saying, David Carr, you don't know football, and I ain't even watched the video. And he responded with, quotes, didn't watch the video. Pretty much sums up the entire Philly fan base. What did you say in that clip, in that video? Because he also went on the complaints about the video not being fully posted. But in that specific video, which everybody is reacting to, what did you say that was smart? What did you say that was a good idea? Why is it a good idea to bench Jalen Hurts and play Marcus Mariota and hope that Jalen Hurts gets healthy and maybe you finish as the 4th or 5th seed, and now you're going on the road against these teams, and so now you're going to try to play San Francisco in San Fran when they had a first-round bye, and you're, by the way, the lower seed, so they'll probably get you. Because let's face it, whoever's the 7th seed probably isn't going to win their playoff matchup. The 6th seed's probably not going to win their matchup, so it would be the Eagles playing San Francisco. It's just ludicrous. It is asinine. And so one of the things I want to do today is compile a list of national media members and also local. We could do local ones too, but national media members that people actually trust. And so I put out a tweet probably a half hour to an hour before the show, and there's been a lot of great responses. And I appreciate it because there's a lot of people on here that I agree with. There's a few that I go, not so much. But there are a lot of people that I absolutely do respect. And that's the thing that I kind of want to get to is there are respectful people. Like Carissa Thompson telling people that she made up reports. No, not respectful, right? David Carr saying something so stupid like this to probably get a reaction, which congratulations, you got it. Like, that's ridiculous. But there are people that just do their job for the beauty of sport, right? Like, that's the deal. A lot of people are saying Baldy, right? That's a perfect answer. Brian Baldinger just loves football. Right? That's it. He just loves football. He doesn't do hot takes. He doesn't do like opinionated shows. He reacts to what he sees on film. And what he sees, like he likes to pump up guys that are playing really well, and he'll point out areas where teams need to get better. Is he always right? No. I'm not saying anybody has to be 100% right. But I'd rather it just be an honest opinion. I'd rather just be honest reaction to what you see on film, and not a guy like David Carr who's just sitting there going, yeah, some might say he might not even be able to read a defense. But I don't remember him saying that one time last year when he finishes the runner-up in the MVP. I don't remember him saying it one time this year when the Eagles were 10-1. Like, good for you for waiting until Jalen Hurts plays a bad game to step up and say that. Good for you. Now, look, I will say this in the conversation of honesty. Jalen Hurts has not looked like the Jalen Hurts of last year. There have been moments where he has made some incredible throws. But when you do watch the game yourself and you use your eye test, it's not necessarily throwing the football, but there are a lot of moments where it seems like he does that one read and he starts to run away a little bit. But, man, at times, can you blame him when there's been a lot of pressure in his face this year? I do think the RPO is making him think way too much. I'm glad that somebody asked Brian Johnson in the press conference yesterday. It seems like you're going away from it a little bit. And he did say, we're still using it depending on the matchups in front of us. And I go back to the Bills game. We talked about this after the Eagles won. In the fourth quarter, they basically went away from it completely and just let Jalen Hurts be a traditional quarterback. And look, he played really well, Mr. David Carr. When they got rid of the RPO, he actually was a great quarterback in the pocket, made great decisions, was able to run for first downs. But even though Jalen Hurts hasn't played to the level of our maybe expectations or some of your expectations, because I did think he'd take a slight step back from second best player in the NFL to maybe a top 7 quarterback this year. It's still good to have a top 10 quarterback, by the way. That's not me being disrespectful to Jalen Hurts. But by the way, when it's all said and done, he's still at the top because all these other top quarterbacks, they're hurt. We're not playing well.
Or both.
Like, who's better than Jalen Hurts this year? I'm asking a legitimate question. Who has played, like, to David Carr's point? Like, he's a guy that wouldn't come on. Maybe I'll reach out to him. He's a guy that won't come on. He'll be, I won't do local radio, right? Too big for that. I do my NFL Total Access show in my suits. I'm asking a legitimate question. We have not watched the best Jalen Hurts this year. But who's been better? Patrick Mahomes, if we're talking about where do you rank these guys, like, I still have Patrick Mahomes as the best quarterback in the NFL, but is Patrick Mahomes playing worlds better than Jalen Hurts this year? Make the case that Jalen Hurts has been playing better than Patrick Mahomes. Who else has played better than him?
Argument can be made for the guy they're playing on Sunday.
Dak. Yeah. Dak's also benefited from a lackluster schedule.
I'm just saying, like, when we get to this conversation, he's still amongst the top 3 this season.
Right. Like, which is why he's still in the top 3 of MVP voting, which is why Dak's now number 1 on some sports books.
Which, it's funny, like, we had this conversation. I know we had we were messing around about how you can make numbers dance, make things look for you.
Yes.
When you talk about Jalen Hurts and how he's played this season, there was a graph I saw on social media this week that basically compared the accuracy of him and this is actually cleaned up accuracy, not throwing the ball away, not, spiking the ball. So cleaned up accuracy on passes 5+ yards down the field as it compares to yards of separation. So the percent of passages in which they have an open target.
Okay.
His percentage is well below league average for having guys open, and he is well above league average in accuracy. Like, the only player that right now is being more accurate, and you find this incredibly interesting, Bryce Young has been on accuracy down the field. And Hurts has seen, like, you go through a list of quarterbacks that have had more open wide receivers. It's pretty much everyone you would think. And then some, like, their receivers are awful and they still have thrown to more open targets. So Hurts is not having as bad a season as people assume. It just hasn't been as crisp because offensively they haven't been as crisp.
And that goes back to what we've been talking about the league in general. The league hasn't been crisp. Here are your, on FanDuel Sportsbook, your top 6 guys for MVP awards right now. Lamar Jackson's number 6. Tua Tagovailoa 5. They're tied, actually, at plus 950. Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, and Dak Prescott. So, in terms of playing quarterback right now, in terms of odds, there's 2 quarterbacks that are playing better than Jalen Hurts this year. 2. One of them's Dak Prescott. One of them's Brock Purdy. And yet, David Carr saying that Jalen Hurts all of a sudden can't read defense.
And then walking back of, no, I'm just talking about his health.
Yeah, now I'm talking about his, but that's not what the clip was posted. And this is what I always hate these
out of context.
These people out of context, like Merrill Kelly. Like, stop with the out of context. Like, you said what you said, okay, and then you continue because you know what, you were being laughed at by the guys you're doing the show with, and then you try to go into this health thing. Yeah, I would love Jalen Hurts to be more healthy come playoff time. It would be a dream of mine. But that's asinine to think, I'm just going to sit this guy for the last couple of weeks, let him get healthy. And let's see, you have Cowboys, Seahawks, 2 against the Giants and 1 against the Cardinals. So you have 5 games left. With Marcus Mariota, you probably go 2-3 at best in that stretch. Your defense isn't helping you right now. So it's not like the defense is going to bear down.
3-2 at best.
3-2 at best. Okay.
So somewhere between 500. Somewhere, like you said, right there at
all right,
2-3.
So you might lose the division.
Yeah, and you're gonna
now you don't even have a home game. Oh, well, that doesn't matter anymore, according to David Carr. It's just ridiculous, man. So climb in at 610-632-0975. Would love to hear the people that you do still trust, locally and nationally, because it's something a day like today where I go, man, please, somebody point out people that I actually can go to and say, that's somebody that I actually trust when it comes to their information or when it comes to their analysis, when it comes to not having agenda, I don't know what David Carr's agenda is. I really don't know what it is. Has he had a bad relationship in the past with Jalen Hurts? Is he jealous that Jalen Hurts is a far better quarterback than he had ever been in his career? Like, is that what it is? I love that Baldy's getting a lot of love. Tim Legler getting a lot of love on social media. Cosell getting a lot of love on social media. Jay Billis, Seamus checks in with Jay Billis. I think that's a fantastic answer. He's a guy that just likes hoops.
Yep.
A guy that that's like what I like. People just like sports at this point. A lot of people are checking in with Dan Orlovsky, who I don't know anymore, if I'm being honest. He used to just be sports. He's now been on ESPN and has had to give a lot of opinion at times. I think he's a bright football guy. I really do. I do think sometimes he gets attached to people like Carson Wentz. There came a time where I was like, all right, dude, listen, man, he's not the same. He's not him anymore. All right. And I'm one of the guys that held on for a long time. And yet it's like still pushing the Carson Wentz narrative. There's another quarterback this year that he kept on trying to push as a good quarterback, and I forget who it was.
I think him on that NFL Live set. Like, I think once he gets moved off of
the first take stuff.
Yeah, once you get moved into the get up first take, like you get moved into that space where it's more opinion, entertainment driven and not necessarily football analysis that you're going for, I think you start to lose some of what makes him so good. Like, I love NFL Live. I think that show.
It's a great show.
I really like the work they do. I think once you start moving him around to other pieces, and it starts becoming, all right, here's the conversation point today. What's your contribution to this conversation? Instead of, here's what's going on in football, let's take a look at it.
Which I've told the story as to how they produce those shows. Stephen A. Smith puts out his list of topics. They find the people who disagree with him. Mike Gill checks in, who does a tremendous job at 97.3 down the shore in response to the tweet about who in the national media do you trust when it comes to analysis of the respective sport they cover. He says, in a world that has become so watered down with voices and opinions, it's hard to even keep track of who is right, who is wrong, or who just has the loudest voice. It's great that there are more opportunities, which I agree. That's awesome, right? Like the amount of podcasts, the amount of blogs that are out there where people have their opportunity to voice their opinion. It seems like a lot more blogs and podcasts are getting availability. I mean, back in the day, it used to just be like the TV network and the radio station, right? Like now it seems like other opportunities have arose, not just in terms of you working, but in terms of you getting actual legit content and being able to speak with people. But he does continue and says, but it is also allowed for insanity, which is totally true. I mean, there's people that are like Giants and Cowboys fans that stream themselves watching Eagles games. It's the weirdest thing. They get paid to do it probably. They probably get a little check at the end of it. That's great. But it's the weirdest thing. Who in media do you still trust when it comes to analysis for the respective sport they cover? Let's talk about that more. 610-632-0975. We have the Vault coming up at 11 o'clock. And also, I love you, Philadelphia. You Eagles fans are amazing. I'll explain what coming up next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, as the weather gets colder, the offers on FanDuel Sportsbook stay absolutely scorching hot in partnership with Valley Forge. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get on all the action. The app, super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. I told you about it yesterday. The Miami Dolphins are minus 900 on the money line against the Tennessee Titans. The game is in Miami on Monday night. A $5 bet would win you 56 cents. But if you're a new user, a $5 bet, and if that hits, I would say when that hits, but I also said that last weekend about the Jaguars. But anyways, when it hits, you win $150. So visit FanDuel.com/Fanatic. That's FanDuel.com/Fanatic. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. You got to be 21 plus and present in PA. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame moneyline wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Fanatic Sports Update.
So wait for Sunday. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by NJ Transit. You'll be dashing through
follows up and say, "Oh, because of his health. Because of his health. That's why I want him to bench. That's why I'm benched because of his health." Even though in the clip that we've played, he talks about how Jalen Hurts can't read a defense. Speaking of Jalen Hurts, I just love this. I don't know when exactly this was from. John Clark just tweeted it out. He likes to post quotes, and I think this is from Sunday, but he just posted it. But it's just typical Jalen Hurts. I'll just read you the first couple lines. This was in response to the loss of the 49ers getting prepared for the Cowboys. Quote, "Nothing is changing in that process. Keep the main thing, Ray. Staying true to who we are and learning from it. Win, lose, or draw, it's always a deep, deep dive into what we could be better at."
Hey.
This is perfect Jalen Hurts, man.
Win, lose, or draw. He knows that they can tie.
That's a good point.
Important.
Donovan McNabb did not know that.
Important.
Couple other notes. Juan Soto to the Yankees heating up. Not official, but multiple people are reporting that could be a move that is made soon. The next question will be, do they extend him?
I mean, you can't trade and not extend him, right?
Yeah, so
well, sorry. If you're the Yankees, you can't trade for him and not extend him. Padres, you could trade for him and not extend him. But
So,
Yankees-wise,
they'll probably pay him a lot of money. And remember, one of the big things in the John Heyman report last summer was that he wanted to be on the East Coast because it's easier to get home to the Dominican Republic than it is in the West Coast. And so that's why it made perfect sense with Philadelphia, because he even mentioned the Phillies by name in that report. But now all of a sudden the Yankees are like, yeah, we're the Yankees.
it's wild that they made a trade with the Red Sox last night. That felt like almost a baseball sin that those two teams did business with one another. I didn't like that at all. I think that's wrong. But it's very funny that within the week, Blue Jays are mentioned with Ohtani. It was mentioned the Yankees were not going to give up the prospects for Soto, and there was a mini revolt up in New York, and I think the Yankees realized, maybe we are falling behind the times here, and maybe there is a little bit of dust on that 09 trophy. Maybe we should pick it up and start figuring it out. I also think Cashman's got to start to, I know that it's not going to happen, but he's got to start to think that maybe they'll start looking around at something else, because that's not the Yankee pinstripes.
Not the Yankee way.
Yeah, it doesn't mean as much right now.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. So just something to keep you posted on. All right, I love Philadelphia Eagles fans.
Why is that?
I'm sure you saw it outside of NovaCare this morning. Now, I want to shout out to my man Nick Boyle, because Nick actually messaged me at 7:45 this morning. He knows the guys that are down there. So there are two gentlemen outside of the NovaCare entrance with the run the ball signs, man. The run the ball signs are back. He messaged me, said a couple of the boys went down early, 5:30 a.m. to NovaCare to let Brian Johnson know what to do. They went down in 2018 when they won the Super Bowl. So they were the same guys. It's the same guys that went down last time that did the Roll the Blunt shirts. These shirts say Roll That Swift. Try to stick with the, Roll the Blunt back in the day.
Yeah, I got it.
The other one, Shine That Penny. Oh, we are asking for Rashad Penny to start dressing, getting active. Look, I know we talked about the run game a couple of days now this week, Monday and Tuesday. And part of the reason why you abandoned the run was because you allowed 6 straight touchdowns and you needed to try to come back. But here's one of the things I don't like. When the RPO game and defenses are now not expecting you to even hand the ball off at that point, it's like they're not going to be afraid to go after Hurts, which is what the Bills were doing, if you remember. When you're up, or when you're losing, when you're losing and you're still running the RPO and you're down 2 scores, if I'm coming off the edge, I'm just going after the quarterback. Easy for me to say, sitting in this chair, not an NFL D lineman, whether you believe it or not. I'm just going right after Hurts, which it seems like that was the Bills' game plan. And then in the fourth quarter, they went away with it. And they just let Jalen Hurts be a traditional quarterback, in which they also just handed the football off too, because they still ran the football when it was a closer game. I just love that we have people so dedicated, so passionate, that are going outside of NovaCare with the run the ball sign. I appreciate it.
I love the passion. I love the passion.
You don't love the messaging.
No, the messaging I'm not in favor of. But you know what? You're there. You're making your voices known, and I appreciate that. Even if I disagree with it, it's nice to see you at least out there passionate enough. And hey, if they did it Super Bowl year and it worked out for us, why not bring it back? You know, they were 10-2 in the Super Bowl year, 10-2 now, and now we're getting these signs. You know, maybe it's all supposed to line up, right? We're supposed to find the parallels and compare it. Give me, for the vibes at least.
All right, so here's the deal. So our man Chip Reederson, I got to find the tweet. Here you go. He tweeted this out about an hour ago. You all are underestimating Sirianni's a-hole energy. Once he sees that sign, they're definitely going to open up with 3 passes now. As a fellow a-hole, that's what I would do. Remember the Kenneth Gainwell, so much was made about Kenny G, and then they still gave him the football, and he rushed it in for a touchdown. And it was almost like, yeah, bleep you guys. We believe in Kenny G. Or the flip side. You know how people said that Joel Embiid won the, all right, fine, take it MVP last year because they were tired of the nonsense that Embiid wasn't winning and like all the tears and all the heat, so they just gave him the MVP even though he was deserving of it. Maybe Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson say, all right, fine, you want us to run the ball? We'll run the football. And maybe they open the game with like 3 straight runs. And maybe it works. Then what?
Or it doesn't.
Or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then they go back to the passing game and they said, see, we tried it.
I like the bleep you idea where he just opens up with 3 passes.
Well, what if it's a 3 and out? You'll hear it. Oh, they're lucky there. It's in Dallas.
Listen, I'll be at more. I will be ready to be ripped come Monday. If that's the case. They open up 3 passes and it goes terrible. But I think it'd be funny.
Look, they do abandon it quickly. They do. And here's the thing that bothers me the most is the mindset that, well, the short game is basically a run for us.
They also don't have a very good short game.
They don't. That's what I'm saying.
Not a lot of checkdowns.
But no, not just checkdowns. Like the bubble screen. I mean, how many?
I can't do more bubble screen.
There wasn't that many last week, except for the Devontae one that actually broke for 20 yards when it was 3rd and 19. Like finally, one actually worked because he didn't do it to Julio Jones. But I hate that mentality of, well, our quick screen game is basically a complement to the run game. Well, if that also is not working, like now what? The offense just seems one-dimensional. I talk about boring. I've said it after they scored 38 points. Wasn't afraid to admit it. Maybe sometimes you balance it a little bit more.
It's just an interesting week for me to go down that path. Like, I don't know if this was the week I banged that drum.
You might not be able to do that this week either. Because if Dallas is putting up points, you're going to have to keep up.
Which is, again, like, I guess that's where I keep going with all this. Like, I think we get so caught up in the balance and, like, the end numbers of all this.
Right.
Like, no, I was not thrilled when they came out against Buffalo and threw it 3 straight times to open the game. I wasn't. I didn't like that at all. But we end up like, oh, well, how do you only have 4 carries in the first half? Well, look at the way the first half went.
Right.
They've back-to-back weeks, they found themselves down by 10 at halftime. How did they not run the ball better in this game? Well, they didn't run the ball well at the beginning of the game, and then they let up 6 straight touchdown drives. It's like, well, do you expect them to go run heavy at this point? I don't know. I think
one of the things that people are bothered by, and myself sometimes too, like you do have this offensive line. We crown them as the best offensive line in football a lot. And, you don't really give them a chance to push.
Have they been as good as advertised?
Oh, I've been saying perfect marriage. Hurts in that offensive line, perfect marriage.
I know.
Offensive line gets a lot of credit when Hurts escapes a lot. It's a perfect marriage, though. Because they did protect very well last week against the 49ers, and then Hurts would stand there with the ball in his hand and not know what to do with it. And that means he can't read the defense, according to David Carr. All right, we'll reset all that coming up later on, but it's 11 o'clock. Time now for the vault.
When we began opening this vault nearly 2 hours ago, we had no real idea what we'd find inside. As it turns out, we haven't found very much.
Vault presented by Gold Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Ray, what do we have today?
All right, we're going to start with a little bit of hate in my heart.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I like hate.
So we're going to get to a pair of birthdays. This is going to be a vault that starts very much in the valley, and then we'll end up at a peak by the end. So I'm going to start with the hate in my heart, because when we're talking about NFL media hires based on nepotism.
Yes.
That had bad careers as a quarterback in the NFL. I understand David Carr is the pressing topic today, but he just gave me a lot of Chris Sims energy, and I'd like for us to relive a little bit of the hatred of Chris Sims. So I got a couple of clips from Chris Sims on his Hate Hurts tour.
Who is now pro tush push and pro Eagles until maybe if they have one more bad game, he'll probably go right back.
I don't know, man. Have we checked in on him this week?
That's a good point.
David Carr's been loud.
I don't know. You're right. David Carr is maybe taking the spotlight, so maybe Chris Sims will be even louder today.
Well, Chris Sims did step out of this, so he did open up this place for David Carr to steal his entire spiel. I mean, David Carr might have just stole his whole flow, and now this is David Carr's thing. So we'll see, but I'll remind you why we don't like Chris Sims.
I mean, that's why Hurts will not be my MVP vote, for sure. I mean, he explained it right. I mean, it's an incredible system that coach has never even ran before, but they had to run it because they couldn't run their system with Jalen Hurts. It's the best offensive line in football. It's the best defensive line in football. I mean, if it's not for the 49ers, they're the best defense in football. It's the best rushing attack in football. It's arguably the best duo at receiver, not named Waddle and Tyreek Hill in football. And it's not that far off from them. It's a really good tight end in Dallas Goedert when he's out there. So this is one of those where I feel like it's setting up where it's just like the quarterback of the best teams going to win the MVP. And I want to go, there's just no way he's more valuable to his team than Mahomes, Burrow, or Allen. Like, no way. Those teams they're not the same teams if they don't have them at quarterback. Where I go, if you put Gardner Minshew in the Eagles, they'd still be really damn good. I'm sorry. And that's where, I don't totally disagree with, some of Michael Parsons' thoughts there.
Can you remind me, Ray, what was the Eagles' record with Gardner Minshew as the starting quarterback last year?
0-2.
Yeah. Sims ever talk about that? The 0-2?
No.
I don't remember him ever being like, wow, I was proven wrong.
Well, I'm just waiting today or this week, in all consistency, for him to go on the rant that Brock Purdy, leading the 49ers right now, shouldn't be the MVP.
Oh, yeah, it's a good point.
Because
he has Ayuk and Samuel and Kittle and an Hall of Fame left tackle. Oh, and Christian McCaffrey
and that defense. It's just interesting. It's setting up for I don't know where and in general, because last year he wasn't the only one. He was just the loudest one.
Yes.
For people to say, oh, well, I don't know how you could give him MVP. I'm just waiting for the consistency there from Chris Sims. If you
that's probably not going to happen.
No.
That's probably not going to happen. And if the Eagles blow out the Cowboys this weekend, David Carr won't say Jalen Hurts played a good game. He'll say, man, the Cowboys, they choked.
Yeah. Oh, I guess they weren't what we thought they were. They're frauds. Yeah. So that, if you forget that was actually based off the Micah Parsons comment from last year saying that Hurts wasn't the driving engine behind all that. So that was what Chris Sims said to set up that season. And then they get to Super Bowl week. John Clark sits down with Chris Sims. And Chris Sims, while he tries to show a change in tune, really just continues with what he was saying at the beginning of the season.
I understand the pocket passing is there, right, but you have to worry about so many other things to play Philadelphia. And, of course, Jalen Hurts is a big part of that, and he capitalizes on all that. And I certainly am not trying to take anything away from that. Mm-hmm. But how would I put this? Playing quarterback for the Eagles right now is set up to be one of the easier quarterback jobs in the sport.
Yeah, see, you stunk. So, would you, I wonder if Chris Sims, let me ask this question. Do you think Chris Sims, when he's in a room by himself, or maybe I'm guessing he might be married, talking to his spouse, whoever he's with,
looking in the mirror.
Yeah. Is he Uncle Rico saying, man, back in my prime, if I was on this team, if I was on this team, I'd be the team that's going to the Super Bowl. Do you think Chris Sims has a little Uncle Rico in him? Because he talks about playing quarterback for the Eagles is an easy job right now. He was not good in his career. Do you think he actually believes if he played in his prime, he would have been good with the Eagles?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think David Carr does too.
Yeah, you're right.
I think there is a great complex amongst quarterbacks that weren't good that, it was the situation that failed me. I didn't fail the situation. And I think they see a quarterback succeeding and immediately they want to tear the guy down.
Yeah, which is weird. It used to be a fraternity where you never wanted to say anything bad, and that's part of how I think media has changed, where it's like you said, the first to tear somebody down. It's hot takes and all that kind of stuff. And I know being critical has always been around. Don't get me wrong. But what happened to the days of the fraternity, man?
Well, it's just interesting. David Carr today upset about the attention he's getting when literally that entire conversation point was a plea for attention.
Yes.
And a plea for conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, I just wanted to revisit a little hate in my heart. I got a birthday for you today.
What do we got?
Speaking about bad NFL quarterbacks, Johnny Manziel's birthday. I've got 2 clips for you.
Okay.
I'm not going any highlights, not going anything. The Johnny football thing from college was fun, whatever. I found his quarterback camp, and I used to watch these quarterback camps with Gruden.
Oh, yeah.
Like nobody else.
That was the Carson Wentz
pool noodles. Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, trust me. Yes. Remember that. Johnny Manziel gives himself a bit of a comparison, and I just want you to listen to this, given what you now know about his NFL career.
Okay.
Guys like me that are watching games on Saturday, I pick up my cell phone, I call my friends, I say, "Did you just see Johnny football, man? That's unbelievable. How the hell do you do that?"
It's just how I really played the game. Just maybe growing up watching too much Brett Favre, too much Michael Vick, trying to mix them both together.
So he believes he was a combination of Brett Favre and Michael Vick.
Yes.
2 guys that had very good careers.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 guys that played in the NFL for a very long time. I mean, look, you're always going to compare yourself to somebody. You know, Carson Wentz compared himself to Brett Favre at one point.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Johnny football, man. I mean, that was wild. Remember we all thought he was going to go to Dallas?
Yes.
That would have been just an absolute S show, and I would have loved it.
It would have been awesome.
Yeah, it would have been great.
Especially, did you watch The Untold on Netflix?
I only watched like the beginning of it, and then Christy was disinterested, so we turned it off. But I remember the opening scene. He's still like just partying every day.
Yeah. It was. I don't really know what to make of it. I thought it was okay. I thought there was a lot that they could have gotten into that they didn't.
I saw the clips of like the urine tests and how they paid people off and all the autograph stuff. Yeah. Fake. Yeah, right.
Fake oil money. Well, here you go. Here's one of the big things that came from that.
Their GM's calling me going, he doesn't watch tape. I'm like, well, he's got to watch some tape. It's like, EB, his iPad hours is 0.00. 0.
Yeah, I remember that clip. They had the iPad tracker. A couple other guys got caught on it. Did Jamarcus Russell?
They put something in the playbook, I think it was. Was that the
$100 bill or whatever?
I think, yeah, it was the...
Randall Cunningham's had some stories, too.
Yeah.
Which is why Zach Cunningham's the greatest.
Okay. Let's relax here.
Cunningham and Eagles franchise history.
Well, we're talking legendary Philadelphians. I'll move to our next birthday here.
Okay.
Happy birthday, Larry Boa.
Oh, all right. What's up, Skip?
Friend of the show.
Yes.
This was something that was sent to me when I was doing the vault when you were out.
Okay.
It's Larry Boa hitting a grand slam in 1977. But this is, you might recognize the voice for this one because this is one of those year-end films. And the writing for this was just fantastic.
The grandest moment belonged to the littlest man. Against Cincinnati, Larry Boa lived the single hitter's fantasy. Boa hit a baseball 400 feet with the bases loaded, and blue snow fell in Salta. A standing ovation lasted until Boa reluctantly accepted his reward.
There you go. I like the blue snow.
Yeah, great line.
That was a great line.
All-time great line.
Beautiful. All right, well, happy birthday, Skip. Larry Boa's birthday. That guy's just an absolute treasure and a legend here in Philadelphia. That's the Vault presented by Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. All right, coming up next, if you missed the David Carr audio, I will replay that for you. We'll talk more a little bit about Jalen Hurts. Like, let's have an actual conversation about Jalen Hurts, but I do also still want to just rip David Carr. And I want to hear from you about members in the media that you actually trust. You trust their analysis. You trust their reporting. Obviously, there's been a lot of Adam Schefter and Adrian Wojnarowski responses. So the people that you trust in the media in terms of reporting, and also the people that you trust in terms of just analysis for the sports that they cover. And also more on this run the ball sign that's out there outside of NovaCare, which I love. I think it's awesome. A lot of local media members not happy with it. We'll discuss it next, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Shifting focus to Dallas Week. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Ritz, a taste of welcome. The holiday table is where new traditions are born and where family and friends come together to celebrate. And Ritz Crackers is always there, so make this holiday one to remember with Ritz, a taste of welcome. Anticipation continuing for the big game on Sunday. Eagles-Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Eagles looking to win at Dallas for the first time since 2017 and looking for the first sweep of Dallas in the season since 2011. The Cowboys are currently 3.5-point favorites and have won 14 in a row. At home, the Eagles have a one-game advantage in the NFC standings over the Cowboys. Jeff McClain reporting tight end Dallas Goedert and linebacker Zach Cunningham could be back this week. 76ers back in action tonight as they travel to play the Washington Wizards. Wizards are 3-16 on the season. Sixers trying to bounce back from back-to-back losses. Catch the live call right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Reports are that former Philly Craig Kimbrell is close to signing a deal with the Baltimore Orioles to join their bullpen. Matt Breen will join the show coming up at 1 o'clock to talk all things Philadelphia sports. In college hoops tonight, before the South plays Loyola Maryland University is honoring Fran Dunphy for his 600th win. The game tips off at 6:30 p.m. and only 42 coaches in the history of the game have achieved this milestone. Keep it locked here for the latest news and information. I'm Ray Down the home for the Sixers, Flyers, and Union. 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia 76ers play here. Every game home and away. We'll have the play-by-play tonight. Presented by Corona, official partner of the 76ers, the Phila Cerveza. This is the exclusive home for Sixers basketball. 97.5 The Fanatic.
I have a great idea, guys. Give the gift of glow this holiday season like I'm going to do with a gift card from Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa. You buy a spa package and you get a free massage or facial gift card. I know my daughter and my wife will probably enjoy the tranquility of the massage services and the rejuvenating glow that their facial services provide. Visit any one of their 60 Philadelphia area Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa locations, or you can search online for the location nearest you to view exclusive online offers. Now, restrictions do apply. You want to see the spa for more details. I love the fact that the massages and the facials start at just $79.95. Plus, walk-ins and same-day appointments are available. If you want a hot stone massage, a couples massage, sweetest massage, or the facials. And guys, the Hand & Stone Men's Express Beard Facial, it's life-changing. So why don't you get in today? I told you, there's 60 locations all over town, but you can go online and check out the location nearest you. It's Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa. Buy a spa package, get a free massage or facial gift card. Have a great holiday.
Sure, any two slices of bread with something in the middle makes a sandwich. But what makes a Wawa hoagie a hoagie? Is it the roll? Perfectly crispy on the outside, chewy on the inside? The deli meats and cheeses, premium.
11:20, 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas. 11 o'clock hour brought to us by Golden Nugget Jewelers. That's where Philly gets engaged. Here's what we've got in store for you today. Nick Sirianni will speak to the media coming up at 12:30 during his Wednesday media availability. And it's a Breen Day. Don't mess this one up, Ray.
It is a Breen Day.
It's a Breen Day. Matt Breen from the Inquirer, Inquirer.com, will join the show at 1 o'clock. He posted the story today about the Tecmo Bowl guys.
Instant retweet from me.
Which is awesome. If you've not heard Matt talk about, or if you didn't read the story in the Inquirer today, Matt Breen interviewed a bunch of dudes that are in their 30s and 40s that for, I forget how many years it's been, but it's been over a decade now, where these guys have been renting out an Airbnb for 48 hours and they just play Tecmo Bowl nonstop. Like they don't go to bed or they work in shifts or whatever, but they play Tecmo Bowl nonstop for like 2 straight days and they crown a champion at the end. And I think that's pretty freaking awesome that these guys that are in their 30s and 40s still get together. You know, they have wives, they have kids, they have jobs, and yet they take the time to do this, and I think it's really cool. So Matt Breen will join us at 1 o'clock. I love Matt because he can talk about quite literally everything, and so we'll talk to him about David Carr. Now, if you're just tuning in, I see Damon wants to talk about the Hurts haters, and rightfully so, because today's a day where it's almost, I feel like we need to defend Jalen Hurts. Even though he isn't playing like the MVP we saw last year, he's still in the running for MVP this year, but it's been the league. I mean, the league itself has been pretty ugly this year, but Jalen Hurts hasn't been playing like the most crisp football this season, and it hasn't been perfect. Last year was damn near perfect, which is why I said this year he'd probably take a slight step back, but when you hear step back, you think I'm hating on the guy. I'm not. He wasn't just second best quarterback last year. He was second best player in the NFL last year. So, David Carr, NFL Network. We'll just play it one more time. Here's what he had to say about Jalen Hurts.
Clearly, Jalen isn't comfortable reading through a defense in a drop-back pass scenario. Some would say he's not even good at it. And I think that when you look at this team, you have to have a serious conversation if you're Philly. And you have to really say, is it better for us to play Marcus Mariota right now and let Jalen get fully healthy? Ooh. Like, if you're Nick Sirianni, this is the type of decision and conversation you have to have if you have a big-picture mentality. That's all Jalen talks about, is the end result and getting to the Super Bowl and winning that thing. Put Marcus in there, win a couple games. I'd say he's probably better at playing quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, he would be more productive.
Hey. That's probably the worst line of it all. The one there at the end. I love it. You put up on the board conversation you have to have. It's back-to-back days. Stephen A. Smith says, somebody's got to say it. Somebody's got to say it. The Eagles, the way they lost on Sunday, delegitimized them as winning the NFC Championship last year. Like, come on. Nobody has to say it. Nobody has to say it. You don't have to say it. You have to have the conversation. Like, it's ridiculous. So let's break that down bit by bit. First, he says Jalen Hurts can't read a defense at all. He said, he struggles to read a defense. Some might say he's not good at it at all. That's him saying that, okay? That's him saying that if he's bringing that out by himself, okay? Then he gets to the health factor. Okay, fine. You want Jalen Hurts to be more healthy? Me too. That would be fantastic. We've been saying it all season long that Jalen Hurts and his ability to run may have been limited because of maybe his health, or the same notion of maybe saving DeAndre Swift for second half of games. Remember, Jeremy Fowler, that report before the season started, out of nowhere, like the random summer day, Jeremy Fowler randomly puts out there, hey, talks inside NovaCare that Jalen Hurts is really working on his pocket presence and hopes to become one of the better pocket passing quarterbacks in the NFL this year. Like, that just came out of nowhere, right? So I'm sure somebody within the Eagles sent Jeremy Fowler a text and said, here you go, just to kind of keep you up to date with what's going on here in Philadelphia. Why don't you put it out there on social media? You have our permission. It's on the record. So he puts it out there. Maybe, just maybe, they're trying to make an emphasis of containing Jalen Hurts from running the football too much. Even though they still do the quarterback draws, they still do the tush push, but maybe they'd rather him stand tall in the pocket longer than tuck and run. Then maybe come playoff time, when everything's on the line, that's when you let the guy go do his work, which is what you saw at the end of that Bills game. He wasn't afraid to tuck and run, and he actually looked pretty good running the football when he needed to. But you want to give me health? Fine. So then you say bench him for Marcus Mariota. Now, he doesn't say bench him for Marcus Mariota, just to get Jalen Hurts healthy. He said bench him for Marcus Mariota because he believes Marcus Mariota is the better option at this point. Are you serious, dude? Have you watched a second of football this year? Did you watch a second of the preseason? Probably not. Because at the time, you were probably talking about the number one storylines. You weren't talking about Marcus Mariota and breaking down his film or just watching him play, period. You don't even need to be a guy who breaks down film. I'm not sitting here and telling you Monday morning I'm breaking down the All-22. When you're watching the game in real time, you saw how awful Marcus Mariota was in the preseason against second-string players, third-string players. And yet he believes that Marcus Mariota at this current stage would be better than Jalen Hurts, which is like what Chris Sims said last year. If Gardner Minshew just slid in there and played starting quarterback and said Jalen Hurts, they'd be just as good. They went 0-2. Then he took to Twitter to try to back up what he had to say. One of the things he said that home field advantage doesn't matter anymore because of, look at what just happened on Sunday. The Eagles just lost to the 49ers on Sunday at home. It's not just about home field advantage. It's also about giving that first-round bye. And as Ray and I talked about earlier, one of the best ways to get healthy is to have a week off. And your chance to have a week off is by winning the 1 seed, not by benching Marcus Mariota and hoping he wins a couple of games. Couple of games. Come on, dude. It's just nonsense. Now, I know that David Carr is not alone in probably having concerns about Jalen Hurts and his play this year, but to go that far is absolutely ridiculous. It's ludicrous. It's insane. And he got the reaction he probably wanted. Let's go to the phone. Let's talk to Damon in West Philly. Damon, what's up, brother?
Tunis, what's up, man? How you doing, brother?
I mean, I'm fine. I'm okay.
I hear you. I know you. I hear you. No, a couple things, man. First of all, I find it ironic that two literally mediocre, below-average quarterbacks will make these comments, Sims and Carr.
Well, that's why I said to Ray last segment, I think they're Uncle Rico. I think they're going, you know what? If I played in that system, my career would have been different.
So now listen to that. And here's the thing. Let me take it back, right? So when the schedule dropped, as it does, everybody does wins and losses, right?
Yeah.
And so when it came about, the Eagles are going to play the Cowboys, they're going to play the Chiefs, the Bills, the Niners, the Cowboys. It's a gauntlet of a schedule.
Gauntlet. Yep.
Well, he goes out there along with the team, and they go 3-1. Okay, 49ers hammered us. We can admit that, right? We acknowledge that. We see that. Understandably so. No excuses. They beat us. But you're talking about a team that played 3 games in 13 days. Grueling games,
yeah.
Right? And then this team gets 10 days off. Again, they beat us. But that's a big difference. I don't care what anyone says. Now, moving forward, for him to make these comments about him not reading defense, I'm offended by that on many levels. Ask A.J. Brown, can he read a defense? Ask Devontae Smith, can he read a defense? Because they're having spectacular seasons.
Yes.
So it doesn't make sense in these comments. And the thing that bothers me the most, Tunis, about people all of a sudden, Stephen A. Smith, the Eagles for real. But prior to that, it was a gauntlet of a schedule. Now we're winning. We win those games, and all of a sudden they can't play.
Well, yeah, they're 3-1 in the gauntlet so far. I know the Niners game was the worst. It was awful. They got beat up, right? They got outclassed, but they're 3-1 in this gauntlet.
Right. So where's the change? That's what I'm trying to see. So you set it up to where it's a gauntlet. They win, and then all of a sudden they can't play. I don't get it.
Well, and that's why I said earlier, I don't remember David Carr saying anything last year. I don't remember David Carr saying anything through the first 11 weeks. But they lose a game, and Hurts did not play well, but they lose a game, and now all of a sudden he can't read a defense.
Yeah, it's crazy. So what he has to do, and I think he's the guy to do it, he's going to bounce back on Sunday. I know you're not there yet. You'll get there between tomorrow and Friday with the Cowboys game.
It's funny. Later on the show, I was literally talking about closing the book on the Niners today and then maybe starting to pay attention to the Cowboys, but I'm still not there yet. Mentally.
No, I'm with you, man, but I expect us to bounce back and have a great game. Listen, I know changes are made on the show. You're doing a great job, brother.
Thanks, brother.
I'm gonna check in. Hey, how's Coop? He's good?
He's doing good, man. Yeah, he's a menace, but in a good way. He's a little boy, man. He's a menace. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Great talking to Damon. It was good hearing from Damon. Yeah, he's a menace. Well, I love the kid. It's a good menace. I ate a crayon the other day.
Oh,
that wasn't fun.
No,
had to clean up the mess that caused.
How do you deal with that?
Oh, he threw it up.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, okay. So I was, that's fun. This morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, I was like, Christy, stay in bed a little bit. So I go down with him, and she stayed in bed till like 7. So it was like 2 hours. and it was 2 hours of 85 different games. Because, like, we play the game for 5 minutes.
Right.
Then we move on to the next game. He's a menace. But he's my menace. That's all that matters, man. That's my
sweet.
That's my boy right there. All right, let's go to Phil in the Northeast. Phil, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Can you
What's
hear
up,
me good?
Phil? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I kind of see where the Chris Sims and the David Carrs of the world are coming from with the whole Hurts thing, because I think what they're talking about is his ability, because Hurts is a playmaker more than he is an actual quarterback. And I think they're looking at it from a QB lens. If you look at Hurts when he drops back, he often just looks, skittish. But he makes plays out of being skittish.
Well, what if there's nobody open? And then he has to be skittish, and then he makes that incredible touchdown pass to Lamine Zaccheaus a few weeks ago.
Well, no, that's where his playmaking comes into play. But there are a lot of basic plays that are open, if you look at the all-22, that he just doesn't either pull the trigger on or he waits or whatever. And I think that's where they're coming from with the whole he's not, he has trouble reading things. I mean, maybe they're going a little bit overboard on that.
Well, I think they're going over. Look, so coming out of college, that was one of the things with Jalen Hurts. One-read quarterback, and don't forget, he's only in his third year in the NFL, right? Like, he's still like really young in his career. I don't think that's been a big problem for him this year. I do think he struggled against San Francisco. Like, he had a bad game against the 49ers. That's true. But to say stuff like what Chris Sims said last year of, you could put anybody in this offense. You could put Gardner Minshew in this offense. They'd be just as good. They lost 2 games. They went 0-2 without Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, no, that could be.
And David Carr saying Marcus Mariota would be better at this point. Come on. That's offensive.
Yeah, true. I get that part. But he still doesn't seem like we're used to seeing the drop back quarterback, or we're used to seeing what a quarterback position looks like. That's not Hurts. And sometimes it works to our benefit, and sometimes it works to our detriment. And he makes plays out of the.
Look, who was Jalen Hurts' biggest comparison, or what you hoped he would be? Russell Wilson, right? Like, that was.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson wasn't a traditional drop back and stand tall in the pocket. He would when the opportunity arose, and then he also made plays, which you would take that, right? Like, you would take a Super Bowl champion and a guy that made it back to the Super Bowl, and it wasn't his fault that Pete Carroll decided to throw the football at the line of scrimmage, not run it with Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, but when it works, it looks special. But when it doesn't work, it looks odd.
Okay, and when it doesn't work, they're still 10-2, right? Like, they are 10-2 this season. And thanks for the call, Phil. Like, I know Jalen Hurts is not playing, as you used the word crisp earlier in the show. He's not playing a crisp season, but his lack of crispiness, he's still one of the 3 finalists right now to win MVP in the NFL. He's led a team to a 10-2 record. He's putting up numbers that is on pace for better than last year when he finishes the runner-up, and he missed 2 games, and statistically, Patrick Mahomes outdueled him that way. We all of a sudden forget that he played the game of his life in the Super Bowl. He's more of a playmaker than a quarterback. Okay, maybe he's better as a playmaker outside of the pocket doing stuff, but we have seen him drop back, scan the field, and throw dimes. Like all of last year.
What are you trying to say with the what are you trying to say with the playmaker versus quarterback? Like, the definition of the quarterback position is go out there and make plays for your team. Like,
yes.
That's what he's supposed to do. You want to talk about reading defense? Okay, they check out of a play, big throw to Devontae Smith in the biggest moment in the game that sets up the game.
He made that decision.
He made that decision. You think he's not seeing the defense? When people were making the whole big thing about him barking back and forth with Jason Kelsey, he's going back and forth with a veteran of this league who's one of the best centers we've ever seen.
Yeah, who you probably trust.
Right. And they're going back and forth about what's happening out there on the field to try and make something happen for this team. He sees the defense. I don't understand where coming out of college, I get it. And everyone has that Todd Bowles clip burned in their brain from when they played the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
and everyone, you can't read defense. You can't read. He would not be doing this if he could not read the defense. Like it doesn't take.
They wouldn't be 10-2.
It doesn't take let me break down this angle. What they're like. Yes, are there some throws that he doesn't make or that he doesn't take? Absolutely. I think one of the big things we've talked about with him for a very long time is how careful he is with the football. I think he realizes with his arm some of the throws that he can make, some of the throws, and maybe that plays in his head a little bit of, should I make this pass? Is it worth this play? Is it worth that? I think that's a part of the conversation, but This idea that, he's not a quarterback, he's a playmaker. No, he's a quarterback. So, that's just what he is.
So they're 10-2 this year, right?
Yes.
You could make the case that the first 3 weeks of the season, he wasn't necessarily playing his best football, right?
Right.
Patriots game, they scored 25 points, 7 of which was a pick six. Then they had the great field position after the Jalen Carter punch out on Ezekiel Elliott. Week 2, DeAndre Swift ran for 175 yards. Week 3, we finally started seeing some things out of Hurts. That touchdown pass in the red zone to Zacchaeus that was like his first eye-opening play of the season. Since week 3, has there been a game where it's like the defense won this game? Like Jalen Hurts didn't win the football game?
You could argue with the way they didn't finish against the Rams and the fact the Rams had Nakua going real good, had Kupp coming back, that the fact they hold the Rams to 14.
Okay.
And the offense doesn't finish in the red zone, but that's also I don't think it's a total defensive effort that wins that game.
I'm trying to remember the game. Let's say after the first 3, so they're now 7-2 after those first 3 games. Of the 7 games, where did Jalen Hurts play this bad game, where he wasn't a good quarterback? I forget the 2 Commanders games where they put up over 30 points. The Dolphins game when they put up 31. Cowboys game when they put up 28, and it wasn't his fault that the secondary was dismantled at that point. Chiefs game wasn't great. It's one of the best defenses in the NFL this year. They still won. Bills game, they put up 37 points. What was the game where Jalen Hurts did not play well? Other than last week. And the Jets game in which they lost.
I think my problem here, and I was listening to the morning show coming in. Obviously, we're having the conversation, and no, I don't think he's at the level of last season, but I don't think it's as far as a drop off everyone's thinking. Last year, when you talk about crispness, I'm looking at the offense. The offense itself hasn't been as crisp. The offensive line, to me, hasn't played to the level that we would expect it.
Nope.
When we
nobody
look
wants to say it,
right, have they run the football as well as we would think this team could do? And he's had his legs also. His entire career, his entire time as a quarterback, he's been able to rely on the fact that if he can't make that pass, he's going to be able to get around the edge and outrun everyone there. He has not had the legs this year that we've seen, we grew accustomed to. Beginning of the season, it was, Hurts looks a little slower than I remember. And then it was, he's got a bone bruise. And we've now run with that for an entire season. He has evolved to the point where he has made this work and put this team in a position to be 10-2 right now. I think we get 1 week where we don't get the result we want, and then all of a sudden it's let's tear down the guy.
Right. And here's the thing, one of my problems with David Carr, Chris Sims, a lot of people, right, is there's being critical. Right? We had the caller Phil from the Northeast. He's like, I see some of the points that David Carr is making. Maybe he is struggling reading the defense a little bit right now. I saw there's a guy that posted a bunch of all 22 tape about guys that were open that he didn't see downfield. Now, you also have to look at the eyes of Jalen Hurts. What if Hurts wasn't looking that way, and then there was pressure in his face, and then had to escape the pressure? It's easier from the couch to do that. And, clip your clip your tape.
Easy and slow-mo replay without the context of what the play is supposed to be. Yeah.
And not just the context of the play, but the context of the game. I go back to the Jets game. Hurts had a terrible second half, right? Terrible second half. We also talked about, can you blame him for always rolling when Jack Driscoll was being beat every freaking snap, right? Did Hurts play well? No. Driscoll got beat every single snap. Now, this past weekend, they even talked about it during the broadcast. They did a great job locking up A.J. Brown, except for the first couple slant routes. There's 2 end zone throws that A.J. Brown had no separation, right? There are other things that are happening. But anyways, what I'm getting at is there's being critical and pointing out where there's issues. There's pointing out, maybe a potential flaw. But then there's the over-the-top. Does David Carr really believe Marcus Mariota would be a better option right now? Does he truly believe that? Is there anybody in their right mind right now that believes Marcus Mariota would be a better option than Jalen Hurts? I see a couple callers on hold right now that are going. Strawn wants to talk about Jalen Hurts, and he's not ready to say that Hurts is some great quarterback. Okay, you don't think he's an elite quarterback? That's fine. He is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL this season, was one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL last year, but I would hope Now let me just get to Sean. Sean in Swedesboro. What's up, Sean?
Hey, Andrew. How are you?
Good. How are you, man?
Very well. And again, I'm not dissing Jalen Hurts.
Right. Like I'm sure you're not going to say that Marcus Mariota should play quarterback for the Eagles. Like that's the thing. Like it's fair being critical. It really is. Like that's what I like to try to be. Like I know I'm an Eagles fan. I'm a Phillies fan, Flyers fan, Sixers fan. But like when it's time to be critical, I'm not afraid to do it. It's these people that are over the top and saying you should start Marcus Mariota. Like, come on, man.
David Carr couldn't make a name for himself as an athlete, so now he's trying to make a name for himself as a TV guy. And they say these outlandish things to grab attention, and that's what they do. But the bottom line is, I am a little disappointed in the way this year is going versus last year. But that doesn't mean I'm giving up hope on anything. I believe that Jalen Hurts is worth every penny that he got in that contract. Mm-hmm. I believe he is the right franchise quarterback for this organization, and I do believe he will grow into being an elite Hall of Fame quarterback. I'm just not ready to say he's great yet. I'm ready to say he's very good and he can lead us to the Super Bowl. I'm just not ready to say he's great. And a lot of people probably will take offense to that, but a lot of people won't.
Well, you're not putting him on your Mount Rushmore of all-time quarterbacks, which that's fine.
Not.
That's
and
why
jump to conclusion.
Earlier this year we had the conversation about Hurts and Mahomes because John Kincaid, I remember, said if the Eagles beat the Chiefs, he would put Hurts in the conversation of Patrick Mahomes, which I think is completely unfair to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
like I don't want to hold Hurts to a standard of Patrick Mahomes. People did that about Josh Allen. Look what's going on with him in his career. Like maybe Jalen Hurts is just who he is, and who he is a winner.
But if he can hear the fans, he needs to know he is the guy. He is our future, and he will always be unless some craziness of an injury happens. But he needs to know that, and he needs to know that we do have the confidence in him.
So that's a great call, Sean. I appreciate it. See? He's not sold that he's an elite quarterback, which that's hard to do, by the way. I know we always try to anoint the next one, right? We do that. ESPN does that all the time with basketball. They're still holding on to LeBron, but one day LeBron's not going to be in the league anymore. So they're trying to get the next guy. That's why Zion was like God, right?
Yeah, we had Maple Jordan,
right?
Andrew Wiggins, yeah,
right, yeah, exactly. So they try to anoint this next one, and in football, you're after the era of Tom Brady, and you have Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes, he's still very young, but Patrick Mahomes is now becoming a veteran. So you need that next, who's that guy that's going to push Patrick Mahomes? The perfect thing was Brady and Manning, even though it wasn't really in the end an argument. The Brady Manning thing was great for a decade. You need that guy that's going up against Patrick Mahomes, which is hard to do. And so to me, Jalen Hurts, he might not be this all-time great quarterback, but right now he is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And saying that you should start Marcus Mariota over him is one of the most ludicrous things I've ever heard in my life. We've got two open lines. You can climb in at 610-632-0975. We'll continue the conversation. Respect for Jalen Hurts after the ridiculous comments made by David Carr. It seems like there are people that are always trying to tear down Jalen Hurts, and he's not even having that. No, he's having a great season. He's not even having as crisp of a season, and yet I'm still not going to go as far as saying he should be benched. That's just stupid. More coming up next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
So wait for Sunday. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Philly Sports Trips 3 days in Clearwater. Give the gift that will create a lifetime of memories. A 3-day trip to spring training in Clearwater, Florida. Go to phillysportstrips.com. Anticipation continues for Sunday's big game. Eagles-Cowboys on Sunday Night Football this week. Eagles looking to win at Dallas for the first time since 2017. Looking for the first sweep of Dallas since 2011. The Cowboys are currently 3.5-point favorites that have won 14 in a row at home. The Eagles have a one-game advantage in the NFC standings right now over the Cowboys. Jeff McClain reporting that tight end Dallas Goedert, linebacker Zach Cunningham could be back this week. 76ers back in action tonight as they travel to play the Washington Wizards. Wizards are 3-16 on the season. Sixers trying to bounce back from back-to-back losses. Catch a live call tonight right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Reports are that former Philly Craig Kimbrell is set to sign a deal with the Baltimore Orioles as the offseason hot stove begins to heat up. Also, former Philly Rhys Hoskins apparently in conversation with the Cubs. Matt Breel joined the show at 1 o'clock to talk all things Philadelphia sports. And college hoops tonight, LaSalle plays Loyola Maryland. University's hiring Fran Dunphy for his 600th win. Game tips off at 6:30. This update's also brought to you by Dell Technologies. Cyber Monday is Dell's biggest sale of the year. Save on laptops like the XPS 13, engineered to do it all. The Intel Evo platform more. Shop now at Dell.com/deals. Keep it locked here for the latest news and information. I'm Ray Dunn, the home for the Sixers, Flyers, and Union. 97.5 The Fanatic.
A lot on the line as Philly heads to Dallas on Sunday. Make sure you listen for the Birds pregame show with Andrew Salchunas, Bob Cooney, and Pat Egan. Sunday evening at 5 and presented by FanDuel. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Nick Sirianni speaks to the media coming up at 12:30. We will carry that. Matt Breen joins the show at 1 o'clock. But until then, it's your calls at 610-632-0975. I got an email during the break that I want to read to in a second. But one thing I just want to bring up in terms of the Jalen Hurts this year versus last year. Now, I know eye test is a big deal, right? Like, he does not look as efficient as he did last year in terms of the eyes, right? But in terms of numbers, 15 starts last year, 12 starts so far this year. Obviously, more attempts last year because he's played in more games. But he will probably surpass that because he's only 57 attempts shy, which that could be 2 games. But his completion percentage, identical, 66.5. Touchdown passes last year, 22. This year, 19. I imagine he surpasses that with also all the rushing touchdowns he has this year. Does have more picks this year. Right? Yards per attempt. Last year, 8. This year, 7.4. Yards per completion. Last year, 12.1. This year, 11.2. Just a yard off. Yards per game. This year, more by 3. 249.6 to last year's 246.7. I guess the big one is quarterback, the rating, and then the QBR, which is 2 different stats. The rating last year, 101.5 to this year's 93.8. The QBR 68.3 to this year's 61.4. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with interceptions, which he has thrown 4 more picks this year. So in terms of numbers, it's pretty damn close to what last year was, and he's going to surpass some of those numbers as the season progresses. He'll also play in, I hope, more games because I hope he doesn't miss 2 games due to injury. But eye test, I get it. But in terms of statistics, he's right there on par, if not better than last year. Now, the email that I got during the break, and then we'll get back to the phones at 610-632-0975. And also, I want to read some of these tweets from the local Eagles reporters in response to the run the ball sign. I didn't get to that last segment. This is from Anthony Perry, who emails the show often, so I appreciate Anthony checking it. Though David Carr and his comments were over the top, I do believe that Hurts has a difficult time running through his steps and finding the open receiver and not even thinking of checking down. Stoll was open, so open, for at least 3 plays. I know one of the plays he's talking about was one of those things that was posted on social media. This was also after a botched snap. Hurts ran right, which may be more instinct, because let's face it, he does roll right more than rolls left. And Stoll was running to the left in his route. He was open. He was also open because as he starts rolling right, the coverage started rolling right. Or in the defense's case, rolling left. So for him to have made that throw, he would have to have rolled right, stopped, planted, turned his body, and threw a strike. And you know how quick these guys are in the NFL. As soon as he's doing the stop and planting and turning his body, there's going to be somebody that would probably go to where Stoll was open at the time. But slow motion film just shows Stoll's open. So let's talk about it. Hurts didn't play a good game. I'm going to make that clear again. Hurts did not play a good game last week, but sometimes I think we're off a little bit now. Anthony's email continues. He said he had over 5 seconds of time in the pocket and still got sacked. That's true. There were some bad sacks that Jalen Hurts took. He also shouldn't fall down and lose 15 yards. We have to find him accountable. I know what I'm watching, and he misses a lot of plays. And I'll say it, and this is where I go, come on. Anyways, he lost the Super Bowl with his fumble last year. But I think his narrative about standard and all that other crap is getting old when he is a main reason why this is happening. I hope it all changes this week, but between Brian Johnson knowing how to play call and Hurts knowing how to get rid of the football in a timely fashion is key. I'm not confident in either, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. Jalen Hurts did not lose the Super Bowl last year. It was an extremely unfortunate event. Is he part of the reason why they lost the Super Bowl? Because of that fumble? Yeah. He's not the sole reason they lost the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts was not on punt coverage. Jalen Hurts was not the punter that, got it to Kadarius Toney basically on a line with so much open space, and then nobody could bring him down, which was a problem all last year, if you remember, special teams. Jalen Hurts was not the defensive coordinator who allowed mirrored plays. We talk about Brian Johnson and his mirror plays, right? Running one play to the left and running one play to the right. You're doing Madden. That's exactly what the Chiefs did against Jonathan Gannon, and it worked twice. Jalen Hurts was not called for a holding, which then allowed a whole other minute to tick off. Right. That's something that's completely unfair. To say that Jalen Hurts is the reason why they lost the Super Bowl. Was he a factor because of the fumble? Absolutely. That's a 7-point swing. You could make a case it was a 10 or a 14-point swing because the Eagles could have drove downfield and scored the touchdown had he not fumbled the football. But to say that Jalen Hurts is the reason why they lost the football is not fair.
He made one mistake?
Yeah. He actually got them back in the game by himself on that 2-point conversion, which before the 2-point conversion drove downfield, leading to a touchdown. He made some impeccable throws. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. So I can't allow you to say Jalen Hurts is the reason why they lost the Super Bowl. Was it a factor? Absolutely. All right, let's go back to the phones. Ron in Wilkes-Barre. Ron, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, Curtis. Thanks for the phone call.
Thank you for calling.
I think the issue I have with it's not a Jalen Hurts only thing. Yeah, like you said, he played like crap. But it was a complete, total beatdown. The whole team sucked. But the problem is, and they always say, I don't know what coach said it, but defense, or maybe it was Madden, defenses win championships. We have a terrible, horrendous, other than Sean Riddick. Cox can push up a little bit. He's been playing pretty good, hit and miss. Linebackers suck. We have some good safety. We picked up is it Beard?
Byard.
Byard, yeah.
Don't forget the linebackers last week, even though it's been a problem at times this year. Don't forget last week it was Nicholas Moreau and Christian Ellis because Zach Cunningham was out. And good news, Zach Cunningham looks to be available this Sunday per Jeff McClain.
Yeah, but here's the problem. And I heard another person say that, you need to have some depth. We let two really good linebackers go. And again, there's only so much money to go around. We always get burned on what Howie or the whole administration thinks is like, oh, we don't need great players in these positions. And we just
the problem is, look, the cap is real, right? So they did not bring back TJ Edwards. He got paid a decent chunk of change actually by Chicago, and he's a tremendous linebacker. That was a tough loss for him. Marcus Epps was a good safety that they lost. But you also have to allocate money, cheaper money elsewhere when you sign, Jalen Hurts and when you have the money that you have on the offensive line and defensive front.
Yeah, but we had some money, and that's the thing. It's like, you want to win this year. We have Kels, that's probably his last year. We have really one of the best teams we're going to have right now, even our rookies. They're going to come back next year, the rookies, but then we're going to be losing some really good veterans. And Lane Johnson is like a play away from, again, he's hit or miss, his health. And it's just like, this is the time. And, how he wanted it now. That's why he went after what he went after. But,
and don't forget, Ron, they're also trying to replenish in the draft. And unfortunately, we talked about this yesterday. Davion Taylor, a guy that used a third-round pick on a few years ago out of Colorado, was a miss. And thanks for the call, dude. Nakobe Dean, jury's still out. I have not been high on Nakobe Dean this year. When he came back from his injury the first time, I was actually kind of upset that he went right back onto the field. I thought Cunningham and Moreau were doing pretty well. Now, again, Nicholas Moreau's who he is. But then they put him back on the field, and he didn't look all that great. They don't have much money, by the way. Their estimated cap space from Spot Track right now is $1.5 million, which is second fewest in the NFL. The Denver Broncos have the fewest. So they didn't have the money to bring back TJ Edwards, who got a nice contract. Say what you want. Like, if you disagree with the Eagles, because it's not just a Howie thing, it's an organizational thing, even though Howie's the guy calling the shots. If you disagree with not putting money into the linebacker position, that's fine. But, don't say like, oh, no, they had money. They didn't. They didn't have money. And they're fortunate that Shaq Leonard, I don't know how fortunate, we'll see when he starts playing, but they're fortunate that he became randomly available this late in the season.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to spend money there, so I don't even know why, they have money. They don't. They weren't going to have money. That was the big prevailing conversation after the Super Bowl. Was
after the Hurts contract.
They had to get a Hurts contract done, and on top of that, they had to bring back all these guys. This was what was going to happen. It's why the conversation point existed before the Super Bowl about why it was so important to get that win.
Right,
because
exactly.
The window changes. Things change once you pay the quarterback. And listen, I don't know why we're going to sit here and rip apart one of the best rosters in football right now. Yes, does Howie have to get better at addressing the linebacker position? And was that a big reason why they did not win the game on Sunday? Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to sit here and tear apart.
But you have to address it in the draft. You can't. They're not going to sign Patrick Queen or who are some of the top linebackers in the NFL. That's not what they're going to do. They have to hit in the draft, and they're just they that's what they have to do. They have to hit in the draft or sign vet minimum players like a Zach Cunningham, who's actually been serviceable for you this year. Who would you rather have, AJ Brown or a different middle linebacker? Who would you rather have, this offensive line or different middle linebacker? You got to allocate the money somewhere. Let's go to my man, the Weave. What's up, Weave?
Yo!
What's up?
What's going on?
How you doing?
What's going on, man? I listened to you right up until the last drop.
You're the man. You're the man, Weave.
I know. Yo, Jalen's got to get up off his you-know-what and prove he's the best quarterback out there. I'm looking at stats. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I threw some down to Twitter. Out of the 3 MVP, he's got more rushing, passing TDs.
Yeah, so he's got more combined touchdowns than Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott. But those two guys are also having good seasons.
Hey, don't pass that over
No, of course not. And that's what a lot of people do, which is unfair.
Hold on. That right there proves that he's the best quarterback in there. And I like something you said earlier. You said he's sitting back there and he's thinking. And I was always taught, I came from Darby Cowan, man. We had more state titles, or not state titles. We have more regional titles, whatever. You heard of Darby Cowan. And, man, come on.
Yeah, man, I hear you. You get those state titles. You get those state titles, man. You stand tall in that pocket.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Weave.
The Weave, man. The Weave. He's got those state titles. Or no, he didn't get those state titles. He would have if he had more time to think. I think Jalen Hurts is thinking too much, actually. He liked what I said, but I don't think he necessarily heard what I said. I think sometimes the RPO is making him think too much. And if you're an opposing defense, and I saw this against the Bills, they just rushed after Hurts. If he gets the football off, he hands it off to Swift or Gainwell. All right, we're going to try to do whatever we can in the second level to get make the tackle. But we're going to go right after Jalen Hurts. Force him to his right or force him to his left or sack him. Make him run. Make him only get a yard or two because he can't be comfortable throwing the football. And what the Eagles ended up doing, which credit to Brian Johnson, they took it out of the playbook. And they just let him be a traditional drop-back quarterback. And it worked. So sometimes I think maybe thinking too much may be a factor in this season. And Brian Johnson was asked about it yesterday. And he talked about it's going to be matchup-based, the zone read this year. All right. Let's get back on track here with Black Gritty. Deep in these streets. What's up, BG?
What up, Young Thundercat?
How you doing?
First of all, I appreciate you for just being a rational, reasonable voice. Yes, he had a bad game, but I do remember, Patrick Mahomes being down 24 and then coming back and winning, and it wasn't a detriment that, the team was down by 24 to Trevor Lawrence. At some point, the disrespect is just real. The whole team played bad. We got rolled on 3 games in 13 days. And I hate using the excuse, but the war of attrition in the NFL, it's not basketball. It's not baseball.
Right.
Those hits add up. And, yes, you look tired at the end. The whole team looked tired. And I don't even know how you fix that, bro, to be honest with you. We got Dallas coming back up. They had 10
It sure is the hell not starting Marcus Mariota.
like
that's not going to fix it.
Jalen Hurts has more wins now than he had in his whole career. I know he was the most sacked guy in the NFL, so he might need a CTE check because you're making me mad. I'm stuttering, and you know I don't stutter. That the rage in my heart when I saw that clip come out last night. I'm like, do you even know football? I take Jalen Hurts on one leg with half a shoulder before I put Mariota in there to try and pass the ball. So yeah, we have things to fix. I think Goddard's going to be a big, huge help because people act like, well, he just throw to Goddard. Goddard doesn't do anything. He helps in the run game.
Yep.
He helps running over the middle, and as a decoy, you can load up and double team AJ. You realize in the last 4 weeks he's been out, AJ hasn't gotten a deep ball because they're rolling the double coverage to him. So Smith is the only one getting single coverage because they don't even value or recognize the tight end. And yes, he missed him a couple times. My goodness, don't quarterbacks miss throws everywhere unless you're a 5-yard dink and dunk Purdy who's just throwing stuff over the top 90% of the time and letting dudes run through people. I'm so angry, but again, thank you for being rational and reasonable. We have got to get back on track. I can't imagine what's going on with the Chiefs losing 4 and 5 games, losing to the Packers, or the Ravens lost.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that now, have we?
The Niners lose 3 straight. My goodness, we lost 1 game. Everybody gets exposed when you lose. You know what happens in the NFL? You make adjustments. I can't stand it. I love you, young Thundercat. Keep doing your job. I talk to you, brother.
There he is, Black Gritty from blackgritty.com. A great tweet from Bob Wankel before the show started today. Here's his tweet. I've spent more time reading about the Eagles on this app this week than I have the previous 13 combined. Total chaos, absurd takes, overreactions everywhere. And nobody's even started talking about the Cowboys game yet. And he's right. I haven't even brought up the Cowboys game just yet. And it's Wednesday of Cowboys week. Oh, the biggest rivalry in sports. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I thought it's Eagles-Cowboys week. Shouldn't we be doing the, bring on the Cowboys? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud again? But anyways. Yeah, that loss on Sunday, it sucked. That loss on Sunday hurt. But Bob's right. It's just been total chaos on Twitter ever since that game ended. You would think the season ended on that, when the final buzzer sounded. They're 10-2. Now they got to really, buck up and play well on Sunday because they don't. Now we have a crazy, outlook on the standings where 4 teams could be tied with 10-3 records between the Niners and the Eagles and the Lions and the Cowboys. Cowboys would also be right behind you in the NFC East standings because they would be 1 loss behind you in terms of conference losses. The 49ers would jump you because they have the head-to-head matchup, and the Lions are right there as well. But it's been kind of crazy this week. Tomorrow we'll focus more Eagles-Cowboys.
We do have a little bit of news.
What do we got?
As related to Sunday. Todd Archer reporting that Mike McCarthy scheduled for surgery today to deal with acute appendicitis.
Oh, jeez.
Expected to be released today and coach on Sunday. Adam Schefter followed it up with McCarthy expected to be on the sideline for Sunday night's game.
I don't like Mike McCarthy. I'll give him credit for that.
Ultimate football guy.
That's football guy right there.
That's a football guy right there.
Getting your appendix removed, and then you're back on the sideline 3 days, 4 days later. I'll give him football guy status.
Yeah.
Might not be a good coach, but he gets football guy status. You don't have to be a good football mind to be a football guy.
Correct. Easily. Yeah. I would argue that some of the worst football minds are some of the best football guys.
That's a good point. There might be more football guys than football minds.
Yeah.
I mean, look at David Carr. The guy playing in the NFL, you got to call him a football guy. If you play in the NFL, you're automatically given football guy status.
I don't know, man. Zach Wilson right now? Football guy?
That's right. No, he's not a football guy, not wanting to play. Look, David Carr, BG brought up most sacks, He kept getting up. I'll give him, he gets football guy status, David Carr. Football mind? Absolutely not.
No.
Moron. Dope. We'll replay the clip coming up next. 610-632-0975. We have 2 open lines. We'll continue the conversation. The disrespect to Jalen Hurts. Is it over the top? I mean, obviously that one's over the top. Saying that Marcus Mariota would be the better starter at this point. But let's say like the logical responses to Jalen Hurts' performance against the 49ers. Has it been over the top, or are you in agreement with it? He did not play a good game on Sunday. He did not play a good game at all. But to go as far and say that, he should be benched and, he's not the guy that, deserved the contract, like that to me is asinine. Nick Sirianni will also address the media. That comes up at 12:30, so your calls before that. All right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Wait for Sunday. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. You may not always need a new water heater, but when you do, choose Bradford White. Anticipation continuing for the big game on Sunday. Eagles and Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Eagles looking to win at Dallas for the first time since 2017 and looking for the first sweep of Dallas since 2011. The Cowboys currently 3.5-point favorites and have won 14 in a row at home. The Eagles have a one-game advantage in the NFC standings over the Cowboys. Jeff McClain reporting that tight end Dallas Goedert and linebacker Zach Cunningham could be back this week for the game against the Cowboys. 76ers back in action tonight as they travel to play the Washington Wizards. Wizards 3-16 on the season. Sixers try to bounce back from back-to-back losses. Catch the live call right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And a little bit of baseball news reports are that former Philly Craig Kimbrell is close to a deal with the Baltimore Orioles. Matt Breen will join the show coming up at 1 o'clock to talk all things Philadelphia sports. In college hoops tonight before LaSalle plays Loyola Maryland, the university is honoring Fran Dunphy for his 600th win. The game tips at 6:30, and only 42 coaches in the history of the game have achieved this milestone. This update's also brought to you by Wendy's Peppermint Frosty. Wendy's Peppermint Frosty is back for the holidays, so take some time to chill this year. Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Vanilla Frosty is temporarily unavailable. Keep it locked here for all the latest news and information. I'm right on the home for the Sixers, Flyers, and Union. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Join the Fanatic tonight from 5:30 to 7:30 at Buy Right Wine and Liquor in Williamstown for your chance to win tickets to 97.5 The Fanatic's Feast of the Seven Fishes with Ricky Batalico, presented by Baroni Fini Wine on December 20th at Il Villaggio Italian Restaurant in Cherry Hill. Visit the events page on 975thefanatic.com for details.
Hey, it's number 59 Seth joining. Join me on the Bet Parks Sportsbook app and you're in the zone. Bet Parks is the official casino and sportsbook app of the real Philly fan and the only app I recommend. Bet more than the score. Bet player performances like total passing and rushing yards. Bet total team touchdowns. Bet who scores a touchdown. And nobody does live in-game betting better than Bet Parks. Bet on the action as it happens. Join me right now and download the Bet Parks Casino and Sportsbook app. New customers make a winning $10 bet and get $125 in bonus sportsbook bets back. Must be a winning bet, and bonus bets must be wagered once. The Bet Parks Sportsbook is the only sports betting app that I recommend. Live betting, parlays, props, teasers, they have it all. Like me, I'm sure that you love to play, you love to win. You bet. Bet Parks.
Must be 21 in NBA, New Jersey, Ohio, Maryland. Number 1-800 Gambler.
Have you noticed how cold it's been getting out there? It may seem like a time you don't want to replace the windows in your home, but Window Nation is saying it's the perfect time because they're offering you 50% off all window styles. So you get a house of 20 windows, you're only really paying for 10. Plus, you can get 0% interest for 5 full years, 60 months. Nobody's doing that. And you're getting new energy-efficient windows from my friends at Window Nation. They're nuts with this deal. You'll start saving money instantly on your heating and cooling bills, and you're going to get rid of the annoying cold drafts that let the heat out, and then next summer, you're going to feel cool as a cucumber. Save money all year long. Window Nation's professional installation will take care of you and make sure they've got the perfect fit. So let me tell you again, 0% financing for 60 months, plus 50% off all window styles, so you're really paying for half for the entire job. Simply call 866-90Nation. But I want you to do your window shopping online first at windownation.com to get started. Window Nation is coming with the best deal in the coldest months. Get involved. Tell them John Kincaid sent you.
Some days, my active psoriatic arthritis makes it hard to get in the game. Now, the ball is in my court, thanks to treating my skin and joints with Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults.
Nothing is everything.
Skyrizi helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi and visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-743-8080. That's 1-800-743-8080. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-743-8080. That's 1-800-743-8080.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Ricky Bo here for Alpha Men's Center. Did you know that most men over age 50 have ED? Over 60%. Don't let that number get you down, because Alpha Men's Center has a 96% success rate treating ED. Yes, 96%. Right now, your first consultation is only $99, which includes the visit, blood work, and test dose. Schedule yours today at alphamencenter.com or call 484-685-1235. Get off the sidelines and back in the game with Alpha Men's Center.
The Hess truck's back and it's better than ever to the rescue this year. The Hess truck's here.
It's the Hess police truck and cruiser with sirens, lights, wheelie action, and battering ram. Free shipping and batteries included. Only at HessToyTruck.com.
Hey, it's Ricky Bo. Win 2 seats for Feast of the Seven Fishes with myself and MMR's Marissa Magnotta tonight between 5:30 and 7:30 at Buy Right Liquors in Williamstown.
Sure, any 2 slices of bread with something in the middle makes a sandwich. But what makes a Wawa hoagie a hoagie? Is it the roll, perfectly crispy on the outside, chewy on the inside? The deli meats and cheeses, premium quality piled high? The fresh, crisp veggies, sauces, aioli, spices, oil, and vinegar? Or is it getting it made fresh just the way you like?
Yeah, it's all of that.
Now you can get your favorite classic hoagie just the way you like for only $6. Gotta have a Wawa. This season calls for giving more than just a cup of cheer. It calls for
Wawa's Frosted Sugar Cookie Iced Coffee? Sweet.
A peppermint cookies and cream smoothie? So smooth.
Guys, we might have gotten you the same thing.
Oh, good. That's what I wanted anyway.
Give joy this season with Wawa's handcrafted holiday beverages. Happy sippings. Gotta have a Wawa.
In a world of division, we bring people together. 97.5, The Fanatic.
$12:20, 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas, the Midday Show, right here at 97.5 The Fanatic. You know, that almost got me, Ray. It almost got me. Holiday spirit almost got me.
It's a nice setup.
In my continued quest to be anti-holiday spirit this year, because Christmas has sucked 4 of the last 5 years for me and my family, I'm trying to take a different tactic, where if I don't get excited for the holidays, maybe it's going to be a good one, right? I will cash in the first 23 days of Christmas to enjoy Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
It's kind of like watching the Flyers versus watching the Eagles right now. You know, Flyers is your holiday season this year. Anything good that happens, you're just excited good's happening.
Yes. Okay.
Eagles, you expect, Christmas to be your Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You're going to be frustrated with every little thing that goes wrong. Expectations are key.
Well, it's not little things.
Well, it's been big things. It's been big things.
It's been pretty big things.
Yeah, I got you on that one. But I mean, so far, expectation-wise.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So, it's been a rough, less than 24 hours in terms of holiday spirit trying to creep in. So yesterday, Christy didn't get home till late last night from work. She didn't get home till I put down Cooper to bed and everything. And so after dinner, he likes dancing. He likes to dance, right? So put on some music, and he likes Christmas music. So I put the Christmas music on. He's dancing, right? Jingle Bell Rock playing. He loves it, right? He gets fired up. And then that freaking beautiful Oh Holy Night song started playing. And this little mother father grabs my hand and wants to look out the window at the Christmas lights with me because my neighbors had the lights out.
Right.
And Oh Holy Night's playing in the background. Here I am, getting teary-eyed. I sucked those bad boys back in. Said, no! There is no holiday spirit in my life this year until Christmas Eve. I'm cool with him having the spirit. I'm cool with Chrissy having the spirit. House is decorated, right?
You're telling me you guys were looking across the street at the lights.
Uh-huh.
You dropped his hand and said, no Christmas.
No. I held on to his hand.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
But I shook out the happiness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no. So that was last night. And just now during the break, there's food. Was it Panera? I think that's what it was.
There's food in there, and everybody's emails work.
Yeah.
That's what I found out.
All the food's there. That's good. No, that's good. And Tony Perrone, who does a million bajillion different things behind the scenes here, she's putting together the company Christmas tree. All the different company ornaments, all that kind of stuff. And she's playing the Christmas music. I saw her doing that mere seconds after looking out the window and seeing it snow. It almost got me. Not in terms of emotional. I'm saying in terms of getting excited for the holidays. I got 17 days left to bear down. Bear down. Yeah.
You're not going to make it.
Work in the trenches and just not get excited for Christmas.
You're not going to make it.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, Nick Sirianni speaks allegedly in about 6 minutes. My ass, he's on time. Real quick, the run the ball signs that were outside of NovaCare, a lot of the local reporters were anti the signs. Jeff McClain, Jimmy Kemsky, Zach Berman, anti-run the ball signs. Because to what we discussed the other day, they're not running the ball necessarily well. So they wished for the wordage of the signs to change, to run the ball better. But one of the things I disagree with Zach Berman, I respect Zach a ton. So his initial tweet says the Eagles have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith at wide receiver. They both average about 10 yards per target. Smith has caught 86% of his targets in the past 5 weeks. Brown's averaging 97 yards per game. If I'm an opposing DC, I'd stand outside NovaCare requesting the Eagles to run the ball, which I think it's a great tweet. Great tweet. But he quote tweeted and said, building on this, I'm not suggesting they shouldn't run. I'm saying the Eagles don't need to run the ball more. They're number 5 in the NFL in the rushes per offensive play. There are plenty of reasons they lost on Sunday. Volume of rushes wasn't high on the list for me. That part I agree. The running the football is not the reason why they lost the 49ers. But we always talk about numbers and how you can make your argument with it. They're number 5 in the NFL in rushes per offensive play. Well, how many times is that Jalen Hurts tucking and running? Obviously the tush push is a run play, and I'm cool. It works. It's like a 95% clip. But it's not like DeAndre Swift is this horse this year. We're begging for more DeAndre Swift. And Kenneth Gainwell, he gets his occasional 5 or 6 rushes a game. It's not like they have a guy that's carrying the ball 20, 25 times. But a lot of it's also Jalen Hurts.
On the flip side of that, you would probably expect them to run the ball more when they are up big, and they have not found themselves up big.
That's true.
So
good point.
The running numbers, probably you're aided by the fact that you have the Hurts runs, you have tush pushes in there. But if they were winning the way that everyone would like them to see, all the style points, all that fun stuff, you probably would be somewhere near that anyways.
Yeah, that's a good point because you'd be running the football more if you're winning. Let me see. I want to see Hurts' rushing attempts. He has carried the ball 121 times this year. DeAndre Swift has 167. So out of those 121, I'd be interested to see how many times they were scrambles that lead to runs, which could make numbers dance. But to your point, if you're winning big, you are running the football more. The running the football thing will never go away.
Oh,
it,
no.
It never will
No.
because it's in our blood. All right, it's in our blood, running the football. All right, let's go back to the phones. By the way, it's crazy. Josh Jacobs leads the league in attempts with 220 for just 771 yards. Christian McCaffrey is 210, 10 less for 1,032. Almost 300 more yards rushing on 10 less carries. It's just insane. All right, let's go to, as we await Nick Sirianni, let's go to Susan in Warrington. Susan, you're on the Fanatic.
Well, good morning.
Hello.
Or good afternoon. I'm really sorry you're not in the Christmas spirit.
Oh yeah, I mean it's been a rough couple holiday seasons the last couple of years. So what I'm doing reverse psychology here, Susan.
I know. I was listening to you, but you got a great wife and a great child.
I sure do.
And a good job. You should be happy.
No, don't get me wrong. I am a happy individual. I'm just not, I didn't wear my elf hat like I normally would when I put up the Christmas lights. Like I did the lights, like the house is decorated. I just wasn't, singing carols when I was doing them.
You don't have to wear that hat. Anyway, what I wanted to say is I can't believe all the negative talk about the Eagles. I don't understand people. They're on board when they're winning. They're not on board when they're losing. These guys are human. That's it. Maybe Jalen Hurts was having a bad day. Nobody knows what goes on in his life.
Yeah.
And I know he gets paid a lot of money, and I know everybody wants to win. I want to win too. But you know what? I'm still behind them all the way. I think they've done fantastic. I really do.
Well, yeah, they're 10-2. I mean, they've been great. You're right. I mean, there's been a lot of doom and gloom for a team that has the best record in the NFL.
I really am curious, though. Is San Francisco now the All-American team? That's ridiculous.
We did the power ranking segment yesterday, like we do every week on Tuesdays, and they're now number 1. Baltimore's number 2, and Philadelphia's number 3.
That's okay. You know what? More power to them. I love the Eagles, and I think they're fantastic.
I love that, Susan. Thank you very much. You put a smile on my face today.
And you have a great Christmas.
Thank you. You as well, Susan. I will, as long as this tactic works. Or I'm anti-holiday spirit for the first 23 days of Christmas, of December. That's all.
Good luck.
That's all. No, I've whistled a little bit here and there.
I'll be honest, I'm really in the spirit. I'm about to go buy a fake tree for the apartment.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
We put up Cooper's tree in his playroom.
That's nice.
The other night. Yeah, I trust me. House is decorated. House looks great. It looks much better than last year because last year he was an infant, so it was much harder to get all that stuff done. Whereas this year with daycare and stuff, we actually have an hour or two of free time to put up stuff. It looks good.
You have an hour of time to do things for him when you're not with him.
Yeah. Well, it's also Christmas is Christy's wheelhouse.
How's she dealing with the fact that you're anti?
She's fine. She's happy. I'm not bringing her down. You know what I mean?
Listen, I'm just trying to get into the psychology
she's
of
great.
this.
She walks on. I have the lights on every day. I don't have a timer. I plug them in every day.
That's a football guy thing, right?
Lights are on. Lights are on every time she gets home. I take care of business. All the little trees. We have a bunch of little trees with lights inside the house. Fake trees. Boom. Pow. They're all lit up. That's all. Okay. So we're awaiting Nick Sirianni, but you got my attention with something. So Jock Peterson, big left-handed power bat, didn't have as great of a season last year. But remember, he had that incredible run with the Braves, where he was wearing the what are those shell necklaces called? Oh, is Sirianni up?
No, I was just double checking.
What are those shell necklaces called? There's
Got me beat here.
There's a term for. Oh no, he was wearing the pearls. No, sorry, he was wearing the pearls. And he had the great playoff run with the Braves, and then he signed with the Giants. So he just posted on his Instagram a picture of the Fanatic, fake choking him. And the post says it's always sunny in Philadelphia.
Also has a music, as a song tied to it.
Oh, it has Dancing on My Own.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I retire it. But anyways, looks like potentially Jock Peterson. Now, he's too good to just be a bench bat.
Yeah.
So we already know Harper's your first baseman. By the way, did you see Hoskins to the Cubs potentially?
Yes, did see that.
Something yesterday. So you have Schwarber's your DH. So is your outfield Peterson, Marsh, and Castellanos still?
Yep. I think that's what it is.
If Peterson actually signed.
Right.
Might be speculating.
We're speculating, but it seems very interesting.
It's a very weird tweet or Instagram post to make if you're not signing.
It's like when Harper posted, what was it, from the Art Museum steps, the skyline of Philly?
Right,
It was like, oh, yeah, I wonder what's happening there.
Just here, just hanging out,
casually
just
hanging
admiring the skyline in Philadelphia.
I mean, that's a pretty. We went pretty deep into this. Him posting with the Fanatic, "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia," with "Dancing on My Own." He's pretty deep into this, not to have at least got a contract in front of him, whether or not pen's been put to paper.
Right.
Like,
I would imagine that you put out a post like that, he's probably going to be signing with the Philadelphia Phillies. Something to keep an eye on. Potentially Jock Peterson.
Props to him being the one to get out in front of the reporters.
Yeah.
He just watched all the reporters following Soto trades around and was like, you know what, I'm going to take care of my business.
In the spirit of today's conversation where we've been talking about who we trust in the media, both as analysts and reporters, Jock Peterson, you know what? Who do I trust? Me. That's who.
Good stuff.
Scarface once said. All right. Tony Montana. Let's go to Mike in Vegas. He wants to talk about David Carr. What's up, Mike?
What's up?
What's up, man?
You talking about puka shells? You're talking about
the puka shells. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I couldn't think of it.
Cool. Are you guys still talking about David Carr?
Absolutely, we are.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know why Philly gives so much anything to guys like David Carr. I mean, he's originally from Northern California. They just played the Niners. Of course, you're going to say that Jalen Hurts has got problems in the pocket.
I mean, I doubt he was saying that stuff as a 49ers, potentially 49ers fan. He's saying that to get some sort of reaction, or this is what he truly believes. And if that's what he truly believes, then that's troubling.
Chris Sims, he's from New York. Like Greg Olson, that guy's from New York too. A lot of these guys in media from like New York or like the Bay Area.
Yeah, but their jobs is to not be haters of Philadelphia sports. I know we feel like they all are, but
but everybody's got that like deep down inside in their heart, you know.
So you think David Carr had what he had to say because he was maybe a 49ers fan growing up and he hates the Eagles and Jalen Hurts?
Plus, he went to Fresno. He went to University of Fresno. That's in the same area.
All right. Yeah, maybe you're on to something. Now that would be shame on them because like when we talk about other teams, I try to pay as much respect to the actual good players on other teams. You know, even though I'm an Eagles fan, Philadelphia sports fan, and I work in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think we're all a little bit of homers inside.
No, of course we are. Of course. All right, Mike, Nick Sirianni's up. I appreciate the call. Here he is, head coach Nick Sirianni, brought to us by Corpley's Bakery and Deli, world-famous tomato pie with hoagie and party trays. Everybody's good.
Down 23. I was just wondering if, retrospect, a few days later, if you've rethought that or if you still feel the same way.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but I understand that, there's never a completely right answer there. I think I answered this. Did I answer it on the radio yesterday? I think that's right, yeah. Basically what I said, I'll just repeat what I said, was, we scored with 5:33 left in the game. And we were still rolling there trying to, we were down 21. And we scored with 5:33. They scored at 5:16, so I didn't feel like it was that much of a difference of scoring it. Now, when it got down to 3 minutes, it's different. If they would have scored with 3 minutes left, then maybe I would have thought differently of it. But I felt like if we could get another big one, we'd be in that same scenario. We still had timeouts, and that's why I did what I did. I understand that there'll be criticism of that and questions of that, but that's okay. But that's essentially why I did what I did.
His rushing numbers, Nick, are down kind of across the board, with the exception of touchdowns to this point in the season. What are the different factors that are going?
Just different styles of the way teams are playing, and so. Sometimes the teams aren't going to let him carry it if it's some sort of read. Now it doesn't always have to be a read. Sometimes it can be a designed run. But like I said, we always look for his protection at first and protecting him. And there was a stretch of time, like if you look at the body of work, there was a stretch of time where we weren't running them much at all. And so that factors into a number when it's 12 weeks into the season. Against Buffalo, he had a game where he really ran the ball well. And so, just the ebbs and flows of the season and the way some teams are playing you.
Cowboys are obviously good, but they've been otherworldly at home. Is there anything you can see 14 in a row, and a lot of them not close, that they're doing there that is different?
Obviously they're a really good football team, like you said, and well coached, great players, and so obviously anytime in this league, every little thing matters, right? Playing at home matters, and that can give you an advantage, and obviously they've done a really nice job of taking advantage of that. Them being on their turf, them being with their home crowd. To say they're playing a different style, I wouldn't say that I notice anything like that, but they sure as heck been really good at home, and so it'll be a challenge for us.
It's probably a little more obvious what Dallas means in the passing game to everyone, but in the run game, how much have you missed his contributions?
Yeah, anytime you lose a player like Dallas, like we've been without for a little bit here, you're going to be affected. And now, especially with Dallas, he's such a good player. Why is he one of the better tight ends in the NFL? Because he can, because he's really good in the run game and he's really good in the pass game. And so, now the guys have done a good job of filling in for him. With Jack and Albert and Grant, they've done it, and Noah, they've done a good job of filling in for him. But Dallas is who he is because he's a really good player, and we'll see how this week goes with if we get him back.
Nick, Josh White is playing 18% more snaps this year versus last year at this time. His production is down the last 5 games, 1 sack, not many hits and pressures. Is there a correlation there, or is it just that he's playing some pretty good left tackles during that span as well?
We felt like Josh obviously we didn't win the game last week, but like he's been a pretty good closer. He had a good close against Kansas City. He had a pretty good close against Dallas the week before that, and so I think sometimes too when you look at that number without context, and I'm not saying you are, Jeff. I'm just saying like when I look at that, I'm like, well, guys' snaps are up a little bit more this year. Why? Well, games have been closer this year, right? Like there was a lot of times last year where guys were out in the fourth quarter. And so, we're obviously trying to manage all our guys' reps and for the long haul here and keep them healthy. I think that's a little bit of a product of that. And I still think like Josh is a real big force to be reckoned with. And, he's closed. Hassan, closed the game against the Rams with a big sack, and then, Josh closed the game against Kansas City and Dallas. So we're always constantly managing our guys to make sure they're feeling the best that they possibly can, not only with the trainers and the doctors, our schedule, our strength staff, not only with that, but also their reps. So we're aware, but sometimes that is the course of the game. And when you're in those final moments of a game, like the Kansas City game, like the Dallas game, you're going to put your best guys in and help and try to help it close them out.
In addition to Dallas's 14-game winning streak at home, you guys have also lost 5 in a row there, dating back. The last time this organization won was 2017. I get it, you've only missed 2 of them. But as a competitor, how enticing is it to have the opportunity to break both of those streaks?
Yeah, obviously I don't think you can get wrapped up in all that. Because again, like you said, a lot of the guys haven't even been there for that, and so we try not to get wrapped up in that. So because when you're wrapped up in that, you're not as dialed in on the things that you gotta, be focused on. And so, as a competitor, good question to try to, to twist that in there. And I respect that question. I just don't see it any different that we have a big game against a division rival. That's the Cowboys. It's a huge game for us. Every game's big, but, we're really excited about going out there and playing. And, we know we'll have a challenge because we know how good they are.
Your last in the league in third down defense, 29 in red zone defense. How do you fix it?
Yeah, we'll be doing some different things this week, and we're continuing to try to find ways. Obviously, that's unacceptable on our end. That's everybody, right? That's the coaching, that's playing. And so we have to fix it to say, we're going to do this, this, and this. Obviously I won't say that. We're still in the third down is still being still being finalized today. Third red zone will start to dip into it today, and into tomorrow. And that when you're doing that, it's not just looking at what you're going to do against the opponent. It's about doing different things and looking at your own stuff of what's been working, what hasn't been working, and obviously more hasn't been working than working. And so, it's still at the beginning stages of that, but I know it's going to be a long 2 days of us, grinding it through it and trying to get it right.
Nick, I wanted to ask you about two different plays in that game. The first being first play of the game on offense, where the safety bit on the play action and Jack ran right by him, seemed to be wide open. And then another play a little later, you had AJ running deep, Alberto on the 15-yard out, and I think Jack on a little flat route. Alberto was wide open.
I know what plays you're talking about.
On those two plays, should Jalen have pulled the trigger on both of those? And is there anything to like him maybe not, because it's players that he isn't often throwing to in practice or whatever during the game?
Yeah, I don't think, obviously we go through each play and talk about how to read it and things like that. And in that particular play, on the first play, speaking of, our design was to go, without getting too much into it, was Jack was part of the play to clear out. And if you ask the quarterback to read everything on the field, you're going to affect his ability to read some things on the field, right? And so you can't, it's like, and that's just how I've always believed to coach the quarterback and just get him, and that just focused on this one part. Like, again, like, I don't know how many times I've heard when I go work a guy out or something like that, they're like, well, I had to look from here. You don't, like, when you have to look at so much, again, your processing speed is going to slow down and you're going to hold the ball a little bit longer and the rush is going to get there. And so you have to define reads a little different. So I'm telling you that Jack wasn't part of that read. And so when something like that happens and a guy pops, I'll always take that. Jack popped, I got it, but he wasn't part of the read, and that's how I told Jalen to read it that day. As far as your second question, it's really hard. Like the snap, the quarterback center exchange, wasn't clean there, right? And so he's picking that ball off the ground, and that's tough, right? That's tough. I mean, anytime you're grading more about the snap and the center QB exchange than you are about, hey, Jalen should have thrown the ball right here because, you're not in a rhythm, right? It's boom, I got to pick the ball off the ground. Now I got to get like that. That's really hard. And so, in my eyes, that when we put the numbers on the film of, hey, what happened here, Jalen's number's not on there for that one, because, it's just it was more about that exchange than it was, and then the read of the play.
To follow up on that, sort of the accountability part of it, you're big on that when you put the numbers up. When you have a quarterback that's so good extending the play, what's that balancing act for you when you're like, bang, maybe this football should be out versus this guy makes a lot of plays?
Yeah, that's a really good question because there is, like, you don't want to be too extreme in anything. You want to be able to throw on time, but you don't want to limit the people's ability to make plays. And so that is a fine line and of that, and that's a good observation there, because no two quarterbacks are going to play exactly alike. But again, I go back to just being extreme. You don't want to be extreme of just trying to extend everything. You don't want to be extreme of throwing on time on everything when it's not there. And so I continue to think Jalen continues to get better at that, and he's made so much improvement there as he has in so many other aspects of his game. And so but it is a good observation because it is a tough act to balance.
Locker room's open. Evans practice window closing. Can you share any information on the subject?
Yeah, obviously he won't be back. Obviously the window is closed. And, sometimes that's the case. So you open it back up and you're hopeful that somebody gets back, that they're going to get back. And in this particular case, he didn't. Obviously we'll miss him. We've missed him because I think he's a really good player, that was contributing on defense and on special teams. So we'll miss him. Obviously we were all hopeful to get him back and, bummed that we don't.
I know it's still been early with Shacklin just getting in this week. What is some of the interactions you've seen so far? And I know from Mel's time, maybe during practices he could be energetic to play. What do you expect from that?
I expect that. And obviously only, he was with the coaches all day yesterday with the players being off, trying to get caught up onto the defense. And only time I saw him really today was in the team meeting. I didn't really see where he was sitting, so I don't have the but I know who he is as a person, and I know he'll fit in great in this locker room with the guys, and excited about that.
Nick, there were a couple of fans out here this morning holding signs saying run the ball. Given the way you guys are built, and given the way the league has changed over time, is there any part of you that's still surprised that people wanted to fall to that?
We gave them coffee. No, hey, I love our fans. I love their passion and their energy. That's not the first time I've heard run the ball. And you know what? And we do need to run. We do need to continue to try to run the ball. And so no, I'm not surprised by that, and I appreciate their energy, because I know that same energy of those guys sitting out there this morning when I drove in. They're going to have that same energy when they're cheering us on in the stadium, and I'm thankful and grateful for that.
A couple more. It's been a long time since you've had a week like this coming on. That type of
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah. So what's the messaging to the team as you brought them in today?
Yeah, we'll keep the messaging this week just in-house and inside, and just, but it's not, anytime after you lose, it's always about getting back up. One thing I think so awesome about this game that's unlike any other, to me, is unlike any other profession, but I've really only done this profession, so I don't quite know 100%, but it's like, it teaches you so many good life lessons of, you're being up, being down, like how many times is that like that in life, right? And being able to, especially when you're down, being able to manage your, yourself when you're up, and then really being able to pick yourself up off the ground when you're down. And so that's another reason I love this game so much, is that it just teaches you that. And shoot, we've all been here before. Everybody in our room has been here before, where you have to pick yourself back up. Nobody's gonna care if you're down, except for the guys in this room, and we'll pick ourselves back up and go again. And so, that's a lesson you can always learn after a loss. And at some point you've heard me say this before, you have to drag yourself through the mud in order to grow. And that's not comfortable, but it's necessary. And then it's about understanding why you're here in the first place, and having that confidence going into the next game.
Nick, I'm sure you saw that Mike McCarthy is having surgery today for appendicitis. I'm wondering if you've ever had that situation where, as an assistant, you have to, make up for the absence of a coach, and kind of putting yourself in McCarthy's shoes this week.
Yeah. I obviously prayers to him and his family that he recovers well from this, and I know that's a scary thing. And so I think what I remember as far as I'm thinking about this particular, this is the first thing that came to mind. Matt Castle had appendicitis one year, where he missed a game and was back the next week. I was just talking about that with Alex Tanney and Jalen and Marcus, and two of the three guys right there had been with Matt, right? So three of us, Alex was his teammate, and so was Marcus, and so I was just reliving that a little bit. That was 2010, I believe, and he came back and played a really good game again at St. Louis the following week. So that was my only experience with that. But I think there's probably something I'm remembering appendicitis, and there's probably something I'm not.
How about COVID year?
Yeah, that's what I was just about. Yeah, hold on. That was probably something in COVID year that I'm just not remembering right now. But that was the norm at that time, right? And I remember Frank never missed a game, but I know he had protocols of like, all right, if I miss, boom, here's the tap, and boom, boom, boom. So we were already in those scenarios.
Yesterday,
All right, last one. Yeah.
Yesterday, Sean decided to kind of
fault and full responsibility for the defensive performance on Sunday? We know you come from an offensive background, but what kind of involvement, if any, do you have on the defensive side of the ball this week to kind of get them ready for Sunday? We hear the guys say flush it. But
Yeah, same as normal. Where I'm giving them, and they're watching all the tape, and I'm watching portions of the tape because I'm watching all the offensive tape, and so I'm always giving my expectation, and what I mean by that is there's some things that are like, okay, here's what we want to do this, and that's not a lot, right? Because that's not my expertise, but what I'd like to give them is the offensive point of view. And I feel that's how I help the defensive coaches out, to give them that offensive point of view. Well, they're trying to do this with this. Now, I know it hurts us if this happens, and we got to figure out what that is going to be for us. And that's the same way I try to coach the defensive players. If I just feel like sometimes if I'm teaching a defensive back how to take a pedal and then break, I can correlate that sometimes to a wide receiver, and I will, but like that's what I want DK doing. That's why we pay DK to be that coach. And so I always try to really tie it into the offense and what they're thinking and how they're trying to attack. And so my involvement will be very similar to that because I got a lot of faith in these guys.
All right, there he is, head coach Nick Sirianni. His Wednesday press conference. All press conferences brought to us by Corpley's Bakery and Deli, world famous tomato pie with hoagie and party trays. Every bit is good. Now, we have Matt Breen coming up next at 1 o'clock, starts the segment. So then after Matt Breen, I will react to the press conference. I got a tweet during the press conference saying this is a pointless press conference. He said something that confirms what I had to say earlier today about Jalen Hurts missing some open throws. I mean, this is why we can't always react to some clips on social media. I'll tell you what those were coming up after Matt Breen joins us next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Shifting focus to Dallas Week. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Pennsylvania Health Insurance Exchange Marketplace. Get the lowest costs on high-quality health coverage now through Penny. Enroll by December 15th at penny.com. That's penny.com. Anticipation continuing for Sunday as the Eagles and Cowboys have a big one on Sunday night football. Eagles looking to win at Dallas for the first time since 2017, looking for the first sweep of Dallas since 2011. Cowboys currently 3.5-point favorites and won 14 in a row at home. The Eagles have a one-game advantage in the AFC standings over the Cowboys. Jeff McClain reporting that tight end Dallas Goedert and linebacker Zach Cunningham could be back this week for the game. 76ers back in action tonight as they travel to play the Washington Wizards. Wizards 3-16 on the season. Sixers trying to bounce back from back-to-back losses. Catch a live call tonight right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And baseball reports are that former Philly Craig Kimbrell is close to signing a deal with the Baltimore Orioles. And an interesting Instagram post from Jock Peterson came out with him at the Fanatic, saying it's always sunny in Philadelphia. Reports are from Alex Coffey, Todd Zalecki, and a number of the Phillies beat writers that there is no deal right there, right now with Jock Peterson. Matt Breen will join the show coming up at 1 o'clock. That's right next, talking all things Philadelphia sports and college hoops tonight before the South plays Loyola Maryland. The university is honoring Fran Dumpy for his 600th win. The game tips at 6:30, and only 42 coaches in the history of the game have achieved this milestone. Keep it locked here for the latest news and information. I'm Ray Down the home for the Sixers, Flyers, and Union. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Up next, the Birds travel to Dallas to take on the Cowboys Sunday night. This week, we get you ready for the big game as Philly still controls its destiny. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hey, it's Jen Scordo. As the weather starts to get colder, of course, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, obviously, there's no better time to get in on all the action. The app is so easy to use. I can
What's going on, Andrew? How you doing, man?
Well, I'm actually great right now because I just had the Patrick Mahomes of cookies again during the commercial break. I remember us having this conversation last year. I just had an oatmeal raisin cookie, which is the Patrick Mahomes of cookies. And, nobody can tell me otherwise. It's the greatest cookie around. Number 1 seed.
I understand. People hate on the oatmeal raisin. I don't get it. I don't understand the hate on it.
Oh, it's tremendous.
I would prefer an oatmeal raisin over a chocolate chip.
I'm total agreement with you. Like, look, you can win a Super Bowl with the chocolate chip. Like, you can win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. Like, the Brock Purdy and chocolate chip cookies go hand in hand. But Patrick Mahomes and oatmeal raisin. Ray's already cleaning up his desk. He's about to leave.
Come on. What are we doing
It's
here?
the Patrick Mahomes of cookies, dude. The oatmeal raisin is slept on.
Cookies to appreciate the oatmeal raisin. Everybody can say a chocolate chip cookie's good, but if you actually know cookies, you know the oatmeal raisin is the
exactly. See, this is why we have you on, Matt, for all kind of intellect, not just sports, but also the true superior cookie, which is the oatmeal raisin. I mean, it was a big one too, fat boy. I mean, it was like the size of my face.
Jealous.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. I got to admit. All right, let's get down to the other business at hand. First time I'm talking to you since the Eagles were completely outclassed by the San Francisco 49ers. What were some of your first thoughts when you were watching that game Sunday and when you woke up Monday morning?
It's time to turn to Mariota.
Stop. I mean, come on. We're gonna get into that.
I know.
We are gonna get into that because I think that was one of the more ridiculous things I ever heard.
Yeah, I just thought the first drive was went exactly the way you hoped it would, and my cousins texted me, they're in his head, and I didn't say anything back, but I'm like, dude, it's the first quarter, you got to let this game play out, and that was pretty much it. You know, it was a shame that the kind of game spiraled out of control, got away from them quick, and did Hurts not play good? Sure, of course, but did anybody play good? So. No. That's the problem. They just got outclassed, but it is December. It's a regular season game. You can't just look at just Sunday. You got to look at what came before Sunday and who they had to play, who they had to go through, the games they won. So a lot of games on short rest, playing on prime time a couple times. So.
It's funny. I think there's been such an effort, and I haven't gotten into this yet this week. And Ray, I would like your thoughts on this too. I think there's been such an effort by Eagles fans to not talk about those excuses or whatever you want to say, legit reasons, because they don't want to be like the 49ers fans and the players like the NFC Championship game. Because those 3 games in 13 days, that's real. Playing 92 snaps defensively the previous week is real, especially after you played on short rest. Did they get outclassed? Did they get beat up? Did they not show up the way the 49ers showed? That is all true. But I think there's been almost like an orchestrated effort by a lot of Eagles fans to not sound like the 40-winers, as a lot of people were calling them.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's not I'm not making excuses. It's just being realistic. And
right.
And at the end of the day, it's not even this wasn't a playoff game. It's not the NFC Championship game. It's not a Super Bowl. There's no reason to even make excuses about it, because it's you don't win every single game. You're not going to go undefeated, so you're going to lose. They lost to a really good football team. You knew they were good beforehand. You didn't think they were terrible. And just talking out with you now, you think these teams most likely will play again, and they'll most likely play for the NFC Championship game. So maybe it's a good thing. Obviously not that the Eagles need revenge or they're looking for it, but they didn't smoke them in the regular season, and then they just played them again. They're going to roll over them again. So it's going to be it'll be a better game. It will not be a blowout. They will not get blown out if they meet them again. And now, the Eagles, if they're going to take them lightly last week, they're not going to take them lightly in the NFC Championship game. That comes to truth. And I think it's just going to be a great game once these two teams meet again.
All right, so you talked about it when I first asked you about your thoughts on the game, benching Jalen Hurts for Marcus Mariota. Matt, isn't it offensive to you because the great work, the hard work that you do, that a guy goes on a television program because he played in the NFL? I give him his credit. Look, he worked his way to the NFL. Good for him. But because he wears a nice suit and is a former NFL player, David Carr believes that Marcus Mariota should be the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he actually has a platform to say that.
It's nuts. It's just I'm not offended. Not offended.
Oh, I'm offended. I'm offended.
Myself. I mean,
I lost 90 seconds of my life hearing that.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's every day somebody says something stupid about, and it seems like a Jalen Hurts is like the one that keeps getting in the crosshairs for the last week or so. But it really, it's all the time. And each time it's like, I know no one watches this program, so no one actually saw it live. You saw it on Twitter or social media. The same with the other day about the one on whatever, I don't even know what channel the show's on, that was tweeted on Monday. So it's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And then the best thing is like people that, I think it was his coworkers from NFL Network, were like,
they were laughing at him.
Great take. They're with them, and they're saying that somebody tweeted like, yeah, the film does speak up to that or the advanced stats. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the last 2 weeks he's been bad. The week before the Niners game was the Bills game, and he came back in overtime to beat Josh Allen and the Bills. Like that was a bad game. I don't know what numbers you have. And Marcus Mariota was awful in preseason, and then even last year, like Marcus Mariota is going to take you to a Super Bowl.
Mariota in his whole career, I wouldn't take the best year of Marcus Mariota's career and put it on this team.
No, I don't even know what his best year was. Like, honestly, when has he ever been like? Think about him in Oregon, and then in the NFL, he's never been a legitimate guy. He's never has a good year. No offense to Marcus Mariota, he's a backup quarterback. That's what he is.
There you go. His second season, Matt, he had 26 touchdowns to 9 picks. He threw for 3,400 yards. So that would be the best year for Marcus Mariota in his career, and that was in 2016.
2016. So I mean, if that's on your mind yesterday, that's just it's like I can't even describe it. It's just one of the most insane things I've ever heard, that somebody would actually say that, believe it, and even think about that. Who even is thinking about maybe it's time to turn the Eagles' backup quarterback?
And like the points even make sense. Like he said, one of the things he said was the health reason, right? Because Jalen Hurts, just watching him, doesn't look like he's necessarily healthy, which isn't that any player in the NFL at this point in the season, 12 weeks in. He also says Marcus Mariota actually might be better than Hurts right now at this point. Like that's not true. Like we already learned this last year. This is not a plug-and-play system. Like Gardner Minshew went 0-2 last year, and Minshew, I would make the case, is better than Mariota.
Yeah, and he said something about I can't read a defense, and it was cliche, not actually watching or
it was uneducated.
Really
it was uneducated. I'll be the mean one. It was uneducated because here's the deal. I don't remember him saying one thing about Jalen Hurts last season. I don't remember him saying anything after the first 11 weeks of the season. He waits until the Eagles have a bad game, very bad game. Hurts did not play well in that game. And now all of a sudden he's going out on the he doesn't play he doesn't read the defense ledge. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, it might be honestly one of the dumbest things I've ever seen on TV.
Yes, absolutely. All right, last thing before I let you go. All signs pointing to potentially Juan Soto to the New York Yankees. Now, if you remember last summer, right before the trade deadline, there was that out of nowhere John Heyman story about Juan Soto potentially coming to the Phillies once he's a free agent. I'm guessing if a trade happens with the Yankees, that dream's probably dead because I can't see the Yankees not extending him if they're trading a bunch of prospects for him.
But it seems like he's a Scott Boras guy, and Scott Boras doesn't like contract extensions. Likes to let his guys go to free agency because most likely you're going to make more money if you're on the open market than you are if you just sign an extension with one bidder. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens when the trade goes down. It seems like it's going to happen sometime soon. If there's an instant extension, and it's a moot point, but I would not be surprised if they make this trade and the package is less because they were told beforehand that he's not signing an extension. It's a 1-year rental, and he does go to free agency next year, and he's got a lot of connections here.
Oh, a ton. I thought it was all but done, like him coming to Philadelphia at some point. But I just can't imagine if he gets traded to the Yankees that the Yankees just, let him go after a year.
You never know. I mean, it's not up to them. It's up to the player and the agent. Yeah. So I would not be surprised if he obviously gets traded there. I would not be surprised if he's a free agent this time next year, and he's the prize of the winter meetings.
Oh, and that would be absolutely fun to pay attention to. Matt, listen, man, I appreciate it as always. Always enjoy my Breen Days on Wednesdays. The Tecmo Bowl story came out. That's freaking awesome, man. It was a joy to read this morning.
Thank you, Andrew. Take care, man.
You're the man. There is Matt Breen from the Inquirer, inquirer.com on the Comcast Business Hotline on a Breen Day. All right, we got one segment left. So what we're going to do is we'll reset the show, but I'm also going to go through the Nick Sirianni press conference because there was something that he was asked about specifically that he responded to. And the question was almost asked to try to get a specific answer. Do you know what I'm talking about, Ray? The missing open receivers. Can you actually grab that? Can you have Silvana grab that clip? Because I would like to play the question and the answer because he gave a very detailed answer. And this goes back to when, I get emailers and callers saying he can't read a defense and David Carr saying he can't read a defense. There is such a thing as a dummy route. We'll continue the conversation next, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Still waiting for Sunday. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Corona. Join Corona, Andrew Salchunas, Pat Egan, and Bob Cooney for the Fanatic pregame show this Sunday, December 10th from 5 to 8 p.m. at Marie's Cozy Corner in Fairless Hills, sponsored by Corona. Visit 975thefanatic.com for details. Anticipation beginning to build for Sunday's Eagles-Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. The Eagles looking to win at Dallas for the first time since 2017 and looking for the first sweep in the season series of Dallas since 2011. The Cowboys are currently 3.5-point favorites and have won 14 in a row at home. The Eagles have a one-game advantage. He was right
by
there.
Matt Breen.
Lockstep with me. One of the dumbest things ever said on television.
Yep.
In the history of the television.
Yeah. So I want to thank Matt Breen for joining the show. You can hear that again on 97.5thefanatic.com. Two things before we get to this clip from Nick Sirianni's press conference that I think is important to play for a lot of people's mindset on Jalen Hurts. And we'll back it up by playing David Carr. Or maybe I'll play David Carr first because it kind of led to the conversation today. But two things. Oatmeal raisin cookie. It was delicious.
Grow up.
No, I'm actually grown. I'm growing to realize that there are superior cookies to just your traditional chocolate chip. I've opened my palate.
I didn't have a chocolate chip today when they rolled in a ton of different cookies. A lot of great options. You went with the lackluster of those options.
Yeah, people are sleeping on. Miss Rhonda had one. She loved it.
I'm so happy for Miss Rhonda. I'm very, very glad for her.
It was delicious, and I enjoyed every single bite of that oatmeal raisin cookie, the Patrick Mahomes of cookies.
Stop, please.
And the Michael Jordan of cookies.
Stop.
You know, you name it. The GOAT.
Well, the age bracket that's all about Michael Jordan being the GOAT, probably big on the oatmeal raisin.
Oh, man. He's the GOAT. Just like the oatmeal raisin cookie. The other thing, do you think I'm on to something about the Eagles fans that don't want to give a little bit of excuses for the Eagles because they want to be so anti-San Francisco 49ers fans and players? Am I on to something?
Yes.
The game was bad.
Correct.
Like, we were critical, very critical of the Eagles game on Monday. Rightfully so. The game was terrible. But, like, that 3 games in 13 days thing, like I saw on social media, I better not hear anything about 3 games in 13 days. Why? It is real. The 49ers really did have 10 days rest before this game. You really did not have a legit linebacker on the field. Like, all this stuff is real. Zach Cunningham's coming back this weekend. You signed Shaq Leonard for a reason. All this stuff is real. But I think people are so against even talking about it because they don't want to sound like the 49ers fans and players from last year, which I kind of respect. But, like, we can be honest. There were other circumstances to getting blown out.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I find myself a little bit with talking about the beginning of that game where, does the game go differently if they don't get 2 field goals? I find myself like,
maybe they score touchdowns if they haven't played 3 games in 13 days.
I think you're making a little bit of it and it is an excuse. And in a game where you get totally outdone like that, like, again, that's why I keep going. I don't think it necessarily changes the outcome entirely, but I think it gives you a much different game and maybe a game that's more competitive and, what we've seen them do in close games.
Right, they might still very well lose that game.
Yeah.
Probably not get blown out the way they
right.
hopefully.
The conversation changes a little bit. But I do think you're onto something there where, you kind of tiptoe around the excuses because you listen to an entire summer of,
excuses.
We would have crushed them if we had Brock Purdy. And you just don't want to deal with that anymore.
So the secondary was awful last week, right? Reed Blankenship, Darius Slay, Kevin Byard, James Bradbury all played 100% of the snaps against the Bills. All 95, it actually says. We've been saying 92. All 95 snaps. Now, Darius Slay looked old out there, with all due respect.
He didn't look great. I would say I think they're getting a little overcrushed for the fact that the middle of the field, like the Bradbury lumping him in with everyone else. I don't think.
Yeah, that was more Nicholas Moreau.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
And I don't even want to rip Nicholas Moreau. It's just, he wasn't brought here to be an every down linebacker, every week, every down linebacker. He played 97% of the snaps against the Bills and probably close to 100 against the 49ers.
Probably tired.
Like, this isn't Remember the Titans when, what's the actor's name? Notebook. He's the blonde-haired cornerback in Remember the Titans.
Yeah, you could go to actor name with me. You know me, I'm not going to get it.
Isn't it Ryan Gosling? Ryan
Gosling.
Remember Ryan Gosling was like, man, he's beating me. And they just pull him and they put the next guy in. It's not like that.
No.
It's like, no, you're playing your best player.
Right.
You're not going to pull Nicholas Moreau. You know what I mean? Just how it is.
I
don't know who you would have put in.
Yeah. And Summerin.
Van Buren.
Yeah.
Steve Van Buren. What's the guy's name?
Van Summerin.
Van Summerin. Yes. Steve Van Buren. All right. So here's the deal. We'll play that Nick Sirianni clip after this. So David Carr, if you missed it, I don't know how you missed it at this point because it's all over social media. We've played it a couple times during the show. Take a listen to the asinine statement that David Carr made, multiple asinine statements that David Carr made during his show on NFL Network yesterday.
Clearly, Jalen isn't comfortable reading through a defense in a drop-back pass scenario. Some would say he's not even good at it. And I think that when you look at this team, you have to have a serious conversation if you're Philly. And you have to really say, is it better for us to play Marcus Mariota right now and let Jalen get fully healthy? Ooh. Like, if you're Nick Sirianni, this is the type of decision and conversation you have to have if you have a big-picture mentality. That's all Jalen talks about, is the end result and getting to the Super Bowl and winning that thing. Put Marcus in there, win a couple games. I'd say he's probably better playing quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Right now,
God.
he would be more productive.
Hey, he'd be more productive. Shut up! God, that's so stupid. Anyways, I love it. You know, we talked about it earlier. It's the conversation you have to have. Do you think Nick Sirianni is even, I would say not in his subconscious. Do you think Nick Sirianni in his subconscious, he's in a deep sleep? Which, by the way, he sounded exhausted during his press conference today. I don't think he slept this week. But let's say in the very limited sleep he's had this week, do you think he's even had the slightest subconscious thought that I should bench Jalen Hurts? No, I didn't think so. Yeah, exactly. It's just so stupid. And, he might be the best option for the Eagles right now. Like, that's not true. Some might say he can't read a defense at all. Who's saying it? You? Because clearly, if you're bringing up the conversation and doing the whole some may say, that means you probably are saying that. All right. So one of the things that people kind of agreed with, because we have had callers today that said, all right, he's ridiculous for saying Marcus Mariota, but he has a point on the reading the defense thing. And that's because a couple of people post tape on social media. Like, I had a guy email me earlier today, Anthony. I know what I'm watching, right? And he talked about Stahl being wide open, right? Which is the clip that has circulated on social media. We ignore the fact that the snap was bobbled. Do you want to blame Jalen Hurts for bobbling the snap? Fine. But the snap was bobbled. So right away, the play's already kind of broken. But there were other plays where, yes, the second and third and fourth string tight ends on the team were open. Sometimes you run routes specifically to get other people open, and you're not even looking that way. So here's Nick Sirianni. It's a 2-minute clip. But here's the question and the answer, because the question was also trying to lead. It sounds like trying to lead him to say, like, yeah, Hurts missed throws. Take a listen, question and answer about Jalen Hurts potentially missing some open targets last weekend.
Plays in that game, the first being first play of the game on offense where the safety bit on the play action and Jack ran right by him, seemed to be wide open. And then another play a little later, you had AJ running deep, Alberto on the 15-yard out. And I think Jack on a little flat route. Alberto was wide open.
I know what plays you're talking about.
On those two plays, should Jalen have pulled the trigger on both of those? And is there anything to like him maybe not because it's players that he isn't often throwing to in practice or whatever during the game?
Yeah, I don't think, obviously we go through each play and talk about how to read it and things like that. And in that particular play, on the first play, speaking of, our design was to go, without getting too much into it, was Jack was part of the play to clear out. And if you ask the quarterback to read everything on the field, you're going to affect his ability to read some things on the field, right? And so you can't, it's like, and that's just how I've always believed to coach the quarterback and just get him, and that just focused on this one part. Like, again, like, I don't know how many times I've heard when I go work a guy out or something like that, they're like, well, I had to look from here. You don't, like, when you have to look at so much, again, your processing speed is going to slow down and you're going to hold the ball a little bit longer and the rush is going to get there. And so you have to define reads a little different. So I'm telling you that Jack wasn't part of that read. And so when something like that happens and a guy pops, I'll always take that. Jack popped, I got it, but he wasn't part of the read. And that's how I told Jalen to read it that day. As far as your second question, it's really hard. Like the snap, the quarterback center exchange, wasn't clean there, right? And so he's picking that ball off the ground, and that's tough, right? That's tough. I mean, anytime you're grading more about the snap and the center QB exchange than you are about, hey, Jalen should have thrown the ball right here because, you're not in a rhythm, right? It's boom, I got to pick the ball off the ground. Now I got to get like that. That's really hard. And so, in my eyes, that when we put the numbers on the film of, hey, what happened here, Jalen's number's not on there for that one, because it's just it was more about that exchange than it was, and then the read of the play.
So there you have it. Sirianni, very detailed explanation as to why sometimes when it looks like a guy is open, Hurts doesn't look his way. We've talked about dummy routes before. There are guys sometimes that just go long just to take the safety with them, and that may open something up in the middle of the field. Sometimes you run routes just to get things working for somebody else. And the Jack Stahl one that has been circulating on social media where he was open to Jalen Hurts' left, in which Jalen Hurts was already rolling right because of the bobbled snap, that was also a play designed to get other people open. I'll also say, then he should just find the guys that are open. He's rolling to his right, Stahl's to his left. He would have to plant his foot, turn his body, make the throw. By the time he makes that throw, it's probably going to be intercepted. It's just sometimes too easy for us to say, wow, that guy was open. How come he didn't see him? When we don't know how the play was breaking down, we don't know how the game itself was going. I talk about what if there's a guy that's continuously beating one of the offensive linemen. You have that in the back of your mind. You have pocket presence, the pocket clock in the back of your mind. And so it's easy for somebody to just say he doesn't read the defense. Like David Carr, it's easy for him to just say he doesn't read the defense. I saw Seth Joyner actually replied to him on social media and said, when you're ready to sit down and watch film, let's do it. And Seth Joyner, let's face it, Seth's one of the more not positive guys on a weekly basis. But to just go on a TV show and say, Jalen Hurts can't read a defense, he can't look down the field. Well, what are you basing that off of? So we had. I asked the question earlier today. Who are some of the reporters and analysts that you do actually trust? And a lot of people said Dan Orlovsky. To Dan Orlovsky's credit, how many segments does he do where he's literally breaking down film, right? He's literally breaking down, hey, look at this route here. Look at where the quarterback's eyes are in this position. Look how he looked off the safety. And Dan Orlovsky's actually breaking down video. David Carr's just sitting at a desk saying that and giving a take. And that's wrong when you're in that position. All right? Your thoughts on Sirianni's response?
Well put. I think, the length of it is telling just how deep he goes into detail there with you, because this is also a thing. He doesn't go into detail much about anything. Like, competitive advantage. Right. I'm not really going to share this with you guys. But the fact that he's going into detail about this is telling you something, that I think he sees what's out there right now. He understands what the conversation is right now about his quarterback. And he's like, yeah, if you're not informed, maybe shut up. Like that to me is the subtext of him going into detail about this. Yeah. Like, hey, I don't usually give out a ton of information, but maybe if you don't know what's going on here, you don't talk about it. That to me is telling, knowing Sirianni, knowing the fact that he has his guys' backs, the fact that that's, one of the common threads of him as a head coach and why they love him so much. This almost feels like a nice little message of, hey, I'm going to give you a lot of information. I'm giving you a lot of information. Why am I doing that?
Yeah, it's not like he's doing it to also just defend Jalen and not be critical. When he literally said in one of his first answers, where was it? The third question was about the third down defense and the red zone defense. And he just straight up said it's unacceptable. Coaches got to be better. Players got to be better. Yeah. He wasn't afraid to point out, hey, we stink at this aspect right now. And he talked about how they've been working on it all week. They're going to focus more so on the red zone defense today. It's been third down defense since after that Eagles-Niners game. So it's not like he's afraid to point out when there's issues. He has pointed out where Jalen Hurts has made mistakes in the past. But there's a reason why probably he went in depth, like you said, into that kind of an answer and saying, yeah, it's not as easy as you guys try to make it out.
And this reminds me, I think it was after the season opener against the Patriots where there was another video like this circulating. And it was, I think Goddard was open a couple of times. And I believe it was, I was filling in with the best show ever. And Tyrone had the conversation of, hey, just because you see this video in slow-mo, like again, what we've laid out here today, just because what you see in slow-mo doesn't mean, oh, this is what he's looking at. Doesn't mean Goddard's the guy on that route. Just because Goddard's not involved in the offense the way you want him to. Because at that point, it was why is he throwing it to Goddard? Why does they see him open here? It's like that might not be the design of that specific play. You can't just draw this wide basing, generalization over one slow mode play when Hurts is moving.
Tyrone and I have talked about a lot in the past is our frustration with people who post screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
The screenshot, you want to talk about slow motion not doing something justice. The screenshot, you're not even you're just going, look, this guy's open. How come you're not throwing it to him? Are you seeing how everything else is working? How the safety might be leaning that way? There's so much.
Gonna start doing that with running back coming out of the backfield. Just screenshotting as soon as they cross the line of scrimmage. Look, nobody's next to him. Throw it there.
Yeah. Now, I wish they do have some check
Nice.
options.
Yeah, listen.
Instead of Hurts having
all good jokes contain something
scramble
true
for his life every single time. Nobody's open downfield. All right, let's go back to the phones. By the way, thank you to Silvana for grabbing that clip for us. I appreciate it. Let's go to Heavy in Huntington Valley. What's up, Hev?
Yeah, what's good, bro?
Hello, Heavy.
Dude, first of all, I think we all know David Carr, he's got absolutely no credibility. That was just if you're seriously making the argument that a guy who is barely holding on to his career as a backup quarterback should be playing over the guy who's arguably the league MVP right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just beyond moronic. Come on.
Yeah, I can't believe he felt comfortable saying it.
I really hope during the commercial break his guys were just like, dude, what are you talking about?
And it's the second straight day. Yesterday was Stephen A. Smith saying somebody's got to say it, and then yesterday it was we have to have the conversation. No, we don't. We don't have to have the conversation. There is no conversation. You just wasted my time.
Yeah, it's absolutely asinine. I mean, I don't think there's any question. Jalen did not have a very good game at all. I don't think there's any question about that. But, it's the second loss of the season. Did he play the majority of the game outside the pocket? And, you can't do that. He's got to pull the trigger. But, I think, you look at it, you saw that game, the Eagles were, they looked like they were tired. Defense can't give up 6 straight touchdowns.
No, absolutely.
That's like Sirianni said, that's just unacceptable. They had the one, the one third down, they were 3rd and 7 where it was 21-13 and it looked like, you get a stop here, we can still get back in this game easily. And they gave up a 10-yard play, another 16-yard play right after that, and then Debo ran for their.
That was a full team effort loss. And thanks for the call, Javi. We always talk about full team effort wins. How many have there been? That was a full team effort loss. The whole, it's the whole team. That's what it was on Sunday. They struggled offensively. They struggled defensively. The coaches struggled. The players struggled. Everybody struggled in that game. It was a terrible football game, which is why they lost 42-19. The Jets game was bad. You only lost by 6. This game was terrible. You lost 42-19. There's no even. It was everybody. And to pinpoint it on Jalen Hurts is not right either. Now, of course, when you're doing talking shows, it's more quarterback driven than backup middle linebacker driven.
Yeah, you're telling me that, like Breen said, no one's watching. Maybe you do try and lean into the whole linebacker thing. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that.
Could be a try.
They're going to hope for their clips to go viral, at least. Maybe there's a spike in viewership today.
I don't know, man. Hey, 610-632-0975. If today you decided, you know what, I want to watch more of David Carr. I want to consume more of his content. If that was what gets you to David Carr, I got a lot of questions for you.
Now, here's what's... You're going to love this. I just went to David Carr's Twitter account.
Oh, he's still going?
No, I was checking to see if he did. But he is not. One of his tweets was another segment he did. It's the Carr Show. Good play on his last name.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Jordan Love is making his presence known with the flaming hot emoji. So he's anti-Jalen Hurts, but he's pro-Jordan Love. Maybe he's that Twitter account that we read a couple days ago.
Oh, it's right.
Maybe that's his burner.
This your MVP question mark with the side-by-side stats? Listen, I mean, Carr, blind squirrel finds a nut. I don't know. I feel like the Love thing, unfortunate. Like, it's one of those worst person you know makes a good point. Love's starting to find his groove, but I don't really want David Carr to think he's starting to find his groove.
No.
That doesn't make me feel good. I might pencil in a loss.
Yeah, you might have to be anti-Jordan Love.
Okay,
now.
let's not get crazy here. Let's keep the heat on David Carr. Let's not turn this my way. I think the Packers got the Giants this week, so that should be good.
Yeah, the Packers' schedule actually. I think it was our man Dan Baxter believes that the Packers will win out. And
I don't know if they'll win out, but they got a favorable schedule.
Giants, Bucks, Panthers, Vikings, Bears.
There's probably a loss somewhere in there because again, they're not like
they're not
incredible team.
They're not the Eagles, Niners, or Cowboys or Lions. So
but
maybe they go 3-2, which would be 9-8. Should get them in the playoffs.
Are we going to have an 8-9 team in the postseason?
We might. We kind of went through it yesterday. I'll pull it up. We got a couple minutes left. So your division leaders right now, let's go in the AFC first, is Dolphins, Ravens, Chiefs, Jags. Your wild card teams are Steelers, Colts, Browns. They're all 7-5.
I have a strong feeling we get all winning records in the postseason from the AFC.
Yeah, because
a more NFC question here.
So of the Steelers, Colts, Browns, there's a chance that Steelers and Browns are out. I think the Colts stay in.
The Colts could. If their quarterback, plays to his level of talent, they could fall out.
That's true. The teams that are on the bubble are the Texans, who are also 7-5.
That's right.
Broncos, Bills, Bengals, who are 6-6, and then the Chargers and Raiders are 5-7. I'm going to guess both those teams do not make the playoffs, and I'm going to guess that Brandon Staley is finally fired after this season.
One can only hope.
I don't think they're going to gain 2 games come the end of the season. By the way, they are playing the Broncos this weekend, so that's actually that's a pretty big game. The Colts, who are 7-5, they play the Bengals this weekend, who are 6-6. So there's actually some incredible matchups in terms of wild card implications going
guess
on.
What? You're going to have your Sunday to sit there and watch football again.
That's right, because the Eagles don't play till Sunday night. But yeah, so you're right. There's probably going to be all above 500 teams in the AFC. Now in the NFC, it's Eagles, Niners, Lions, Falcons, your division leaders. The NFC South could have an under 500 record winner. Maybe. Let's see. Go to the Falcons.
I guess enough of them play each other, right? At some point, one of these teams has to be able to win.
Yeah, see, the Falcons play the Bucks, who are right behind them. They play the Panthers, Colts, Bears, and Saints. They already beat the Saints once this year. Yeah, I'm still holding on to hope. Falcons probably win that division at this point, I guess.
Yes. God, they're so bad. It's so bad.
Unless the Bucks win and then the Saints win in the final week, and because they're not going to beat the Colts. I guess there's a chance they could go. I mean, they might not beat the Bears either, depending on how Fields looks.
The wild piece of all this is like that division is so bad, but any of the wild card teams right now would be in that division race. Like the winner of that division, might have a worse record than 2 wild card teams.
Yeah, we've seen that before. Remember Seattle? They were 7-9 with Hasselbeck and Sean Alexander.
It's just hard to wrap I understand it happens, but it's one of those hard to wrap my mind around. I'm talking about how bad the wild card is.
So weird.
It's an ugly look outside the top 4 teams in the NFC. Could you have a sub 500 division winner and another sub 500 wild card? You could have 2 playoff teams that are below 500.
Potentially. So the Cowboys are 9-3. They're the first wild card team, which that won't change unless they pass the Eagles, which I don't think ends up happening. Your other 2 wild card teams are the Vikings and Packers, who are both 6-6. The Vikings have the Raiders this week, and the Packers have the Giants this weekend. I expect them both to win, unless Dobbs is terrible. But that would make them 7-6. The Rams are the first team out. They're playing the Ravens. The Seahawks are the second team out. They're playing the Niners, which could be a loss. So those 2 teams would both fall to 6-7. The Packers and Vikings would then both gain a game on both of those teams. Vikings. The Packers will probably finish above 500.
Okay, so that gives us 1 wild card outside of. So Cowboys and Packers, let's say they finish over 500. Then you're banking on one of like Minnesota, the Rams, the Seahawks to end up above 500.
Yeah.
And you're also banking on the NFC South winner to be above 500, which I guess likely because of all the division games they'll have at the end of the season, one of these teams does. But you're not far off from a world where 2 of the 7 playoff teams in the NFC are below 500.
All right, let's do this real quick. Hold on.
Which is a shame. Just an absolute shame.
Because we're football guys. We'll do this.
Of course, yeah. Big football guys.
All right.
Football minds?
Let's pick the winner of the NFC South, which right now the NFC South standings are as follows. I know the Falcons are in first place, 6-6. The Bucs are 5-7. The Saints are 5-7. So they're both just a game back of Atlanta. The Saints lost to the Falcons, so the Falcons have the head-to-head. Did the Bucs play Atlanta at some point this year? It looks like they did. The Bucs lost. So the Falcons have the head-to-head on both those teams so far, with still one game remaining for both. The Saints have the Panthers, Giants, Rams, Bucs, Falcons. So they close out the season with 2 in-division games. Panthers they should beat. Giants they should beat. Rams will be tough. And then Bucs, Falcons. So it's like the best of the worst team will prevail. So if they go, let's say the Saints go 3-2 in this stretch, that would put them
8-9.
8-9. The Falcons have the Bucs, Panthers, Colts, Bears, and Saints. For my own personal benefit, they're going to lose to the Saints.
Congrats.
Thank you. Let's say they go 2-3. They beat the Bucs, they beat the Panthers, but then they lose to the Colts, Bears, and Saints. They're leaking oil at the end. That would also put them at 8-9. And then they would have to do tiebreakers after that with the Saints.
Doesn't like 8-9 again, losing record. This exercise is going to show just how disastrous some of this is.
The Buccaneers, who are 5-7. Falcons, who I have them losing to, so 5-8. Packers, Jags, Saints, Panthers.
Losing record.
Yeah.
There's 2 losses on their schedule. Losing record. Like, it's the
South, beauty of football, man.
The South is going to need someone to go on a nice tear here at the end to end up with a winning record.
It's the beauty of football, man.
I don't know if I call that beauty.
I don't have a problem with it. I've never had a problem with it. I think it's funny when the 7-9 team has the home game.
It's funny, like, what? It's going to be the Saturday game of the first weekend of games where the Cowboys will just go to wherever wins.
And if you're the better team, then just go win.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't, like, it's not one of those, like, oh, why are they hosting a game? Why are they a playoff team? It's just like, wow, this is incredible how bad everyone is outside of the top 4 in the NFC.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, the NFC, that means the conference is open for the Eagles still. All right, that'll do it for today. I want to thank Matt Breen for joining the show today. Thank you, Ray, as always. We'll be back at it tomorrow. You got the best show ever coming your way next. I just saw Ricky Patalico walking by. Of course, Jen Scordo and Tyrone Johnson as well. Tomorrow is a Thursday, so we'll probably start finally talking Eagles-Cowboys, which we haven't done that really much this week because of how tough of a loss it was against the San Francisco 49ers and then how asinine the comments were by David Carr today. So we'll start turning more of our attention to Eagles-Cowboys tomorrow. By the way, Zach Wilson will start this weekend for the Jets. He finally agreed.
Congrats.
He finally agreed to it. Just so weak. Unbelievable. All right, everybody have a great rest of your day. It was another fun one. We'll be back at it tomorrow right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Shifting focus to Dallas week. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Pennsylvania Health Insurance Exchange Marketplace. Get the lowest cost on high-quality health coverage now through Penny. Enroll by December 15th at penny.com. That's penny.com. Anticipation building now for Sunday night's big game between the Cowboys and the Eagles on Sunday night.